Chapter 31:10 How to Save You. Steel Scene's body frame was ruined. He looked as if he had been stabbed in the heart. His eyes opened wide as he stared at Han Sun and Ice Snow Goddess in the God Temple. God spirits were very holy. Everyone in the entire kingdom worshipped them. Even Ice Snow Goddess had a contract that treated the family as a partner. The Steel family never once thought about showing an ounce of disrespect to Ice Snow Goddess. They treated her like a god. They treated her like a protector of the Steel family. Now the Steel family's protector, Ice Snow Goddess, was bowing before Han's senator. It was like someone lower in status meeting someone higher than them. The deity even referred to him as a mister. This made Steel Scene unable to believe it was actually happening. Oh God! What kind of monster have I become entangled with? Steel Scene suddenly felt the sky spin. He started to lose his footing and fell to the ground. The Steel Manor's guards and workers were outside the God Temple. They saw that it was covered in ice lights and snow air. They were unable to get close and see what was happening inside. A God-class Gene race subordinate was gathering power. He wanted to get into the ice lights and snow air, but he almost turned into an ice cube. He backed away. The hand that touched the ice lights and snow air first already had no feeling. Everyone was shocked. They did not dare to touch the ice lights and snow air. They surrounded the God Temple. In the Ice Snow God Temple, Steel Scene's body shook. His eyes were full of blood. He looked at Han Sun with the utmost shock. He tremendously feared death. Impossible. Ice Snow Goddess is the guardian of the Steel family. I have the Ice Snow blood pulse. She will not abandon me. Impossible. Han Sun did not waste time looking at Steel Scene. He only looked at Ice Snow Goddess and asked, "Is he your man?" Ice Snow Goddess had not been there earlier, but she easily guessed what had been happening. She coldly said, "I had a contract with the ancestors of the Steel family, so the Steel family has my God spirit blood pulse." Han Sun looked at Ice Snow Goddess as he said, "This man wants to kill me. If he is yours, what will you do?" Steel Scene was frightened. He screamed, "You are the guardian of the Steel family. You must save me." In the universe of kingdoms, humans used the powers of God spirits and gene races to get by. They did not really care about the power of their own bodies. Although Steel Scene was at a very high level, and he had a lot of fame, he was still afraid of death. He was superior to many others. He had many wives, and he was tremendously rich. He was not ready to die. Ice Snow Goddess's words sent Steel Scene into an endless hell. The Ice Snow Goddess looked at Steel Scene. She sighed and said, "You have offended a person not even God would dare offend. How could I hope to save you?" Steel Scene suddenly felt as if he was inside an ice cave. The blood drained from his face. After all, he was a person who had held a high position for a long time. He was a general who led an army. Now he was utterly hopeless. He decided to use all the power he had. Steel Scene suddenly noticed his Ice Snow God spirit blood pulse was gone. Obviously, Ice Snow Goddess had disabled the God Spirit blood pulse power she had once given him. It had been taken away. Steel Scene felt very sad, but he still looked murderous. Although he had no Ice Snow God Spirit power, he had the Si Ming Demon blood pulse from a land pulse. Although it was not a complete God Spirit blood pulse, it was still stronger than the God Spirit blood pulses that were usually given out by temples. Now Steel Scene only wanted to live. He cast his Si God Spirit blood pulse at max capacity. Black air surrounded him. He was like an evil ghost headed outside of the Ice Snow God Temple. His heart was filled with hatred, but he did not dare fight against Han's senator. He was too scary. Even God spirits avoided inciting his ire. He would not dare to fight him again. Steel Scene only wanted to escape the Ice Snow God Temple and run to Jadewall City. That seemed the only way he would be allowed to keep his life. Before Steel Scene escaped the Ice Snow God Temple, he heard Ice Snow Goddess say, "Mister, for little God's sake, keep his body whole." In Ice Snow City, the King's Guard had people rush over to the temple. They had brought Steel family members to the Ice Snow God Temple. Seeing the Ice Snow God Temple was covered by ice lights and snow air, the general of the Phoenix Guard, Lu Xianxian, looked at Steel Scene's cousin, Steel Ing Tang, and asked, "Mr. Ing Tang, what happened here?" Steel Ing Tang hoped Steel Scene died inside the Ice Snow God Temple, so he could take over the Steel family and become its new leader, but he pretended to be angry and said, An assassin invaded the Steel Manor in the hopes of slaying my cousin. Now they are trapped inside Ice Snow God Temple. I do not know what is going on inside. Lu Xianxian and the other generals all swapped looks of concern. They were shocked. In daylight, someone had tried to assassinate a general of the Qin Kingdom. That was far too bold. The Ice Snow God Temple was covered by an Ice Snow God power. They could not enter the place. Lu Xianxian had to question them about the situation and offer words of comfort, such as, Mr. Xin has an Ice Snow God spirit blood pulse. When he entered the God Temple, he probably combined with Ice Snow Goddess. It does not matter how strong that assassin is. It is unlikely he will be able to hurt him. Don't panic. Protect the God Temple, and do now allow the assassin to escape. After that, Lu Xianxian asked, Do you know who the assassin is? Lu Xianxian did not expect anyone to answer. If there was an assassin, revealing himself would not have been a very smart move. It is Han Sun, an old servant madly said. It is the one who lives with Feng Feifei. He killed Mr. Xin, Gong Shuji Si Tuya, and General Lu. Lu Xianxian and the others were shocked. When they heard the answer, they donned strange expressions. No one expected someone would go to Steel Manor and kill without remorse. They knew Han Sen's name. Lu Senji was hit in the face by the Crown Prince because of him. He had been made into a joke in Jade Wall City. How could they have not known about him? They could have thought about all of this until their brains short-circuited, but they never would have imagined that Han Sun had the audacity to go to Steel Manor and kill Lu Senji and Gong Shuji. Lu Xianxian was about to ask something when he suddenly saw the ice lights and snow air around Ice Snow God Temple shift. It returned to crystal and jade. Everyone around instinctively peered into the Ice Snow God Temple. Their hearts went dim. They were all shocked. Steel Scene was kneeling before Ice Snow God Temple. He was bleeding. His body was red like a cooked shrimp. He had no more life force. Someone put his hand near Steel Scene's nose and screamed, Mr. Scene! Mr. Scene! He is dead, Han Sun. Where is Han Sun? Lu Xianxian and the others were as much shocked as they were afraid. Even after thinking about the key to this whole incident, they still took people into the Ice Snow God Temple. The most unbelievable part was that once they were inside Ice Snow God Temple, aside from Steel Scene's body, there was not a single shadow. The assassin, Han Sun, who the Steel family claimed had just walked in to murder everyone, had vanished. There was no sign of him. Chapter 31:11 Qin by the witness Steel Scene was murdered inside Ice Snow God Temple. Gong Shuji Si Tuya and Lu Sanji were murdered inside Ice Snow City's Steel Manor. The news was heard all over Jade Wall City. The King's Guard's main general was a character who lived in Jade Wall City and enjoyed quite a high reputation. He was in charge of the safety of Jade Wall City, yet he was murdered inside his own house. It had been over a century since something that terrible had happened in Jade Wall City. Assassins from other kingdoms killing officers in the Qin Kingdom was not rare. For Han Sun to kill a godblood noble like Steel Scene, so obviously inside his god temple, was something the likes of which had never happened before. The ripple effects of this event were likely very bad. Many high-class nobles knew about it. They knew about what had happened. They thought Feng Feifei and Han Sun were going to wind up injured, yet Han Sun had turned up fine. He had actually gone to Steel Manor and slew Steel Scene. When they heard the news, they were so shocked that they were rendered speechless. This thing affected too many things. Lu Xianxian and the others quickly reported the events and summoned the elites of the King's Guard. They raced to Feng Feifei's castle. The King's Guards had 14 branches. Steel Scene was the leader of the entire King's Guards, but that did not mean he was the strongest in the King's Guards. The real power of the King's Guards resided in Zhao Long from Dragon Guard and Lu Xianxian from the Phoenix Feather. Those two were the true might of the King's Guards. That was especially true of Zhao Long. He was considered the best among the King's Guards. Even though they were more powerful than Steel Scene, they still had to be below Steel Scene on the corporate ladder because their backgrounds were fairly average. They had no choice but to be subordinated. The Dragon Guard and Wind Feather Guard were in charge of the two areas closest to the palace. The power of those two regiments was greater than the rest of the 14 teams. Now Steel Scene had been murdered. The 14 teams were on the move. Zhao Long and Lu Xianxian were leading the army to Feng Feifei's castle. In the beginning, they did not have much hope. It was unlikely for someone to commit such a big crime and return to an obvious place. When they reached Feng Feifei's castle, they were shocked to learn Han Sen was inside Feng Feifei's castle. He acted as if nothing had happened. He was just relaxing and playing chess with Crown Prince Qin Bai. Han Sen, your method of playing chess is very interesting. We must play again. Zhao Long and Lu Xianxian came before Han. Senator Crown Prince Qin Bai was happily speaking to Han Sr., Mr. Crown Prince. Zhao Long and Lu Xianxian and all the other soldiers bowed before Qin Bai. Zhao Long said, Han Sen invaded the Steel Manor. He murdered the main general of the King's Guard, Steel Xin, and the leader of the Thunder Lion Riders, Lu Senji, as well as Gong Shuji and Si Tuya. I am going to arrest him and have him judged. Qin Bai looked at Han Sen with shock. He then looked at Zhao Long. Really? When did that happen? Zhao Long answered, half an hour ago. Qin Bai shook his head. You guys must have made a mistake. Han Sen has been playing chess with me all day. He did not leave for 1 minute. How could he have murdered someone? The expressions of Zhao Long and the other people with him changed. If that had been spoken by someone else, they would not have cared about it. They would have even arrested the person who had said such a thing. But this was the crown prince of the Qin kingdom. It was Qin Bai who had said it, and he was the only child of the Qin kingdom. They were unable to do anything. Mr. Crown Prince, are you sure you were with him all day? Did he not leave your sight at all? Zhao Long asked with a frown. Of course. He has been playing chess with me, Qin Bai said in a hurried voice. He did not leave my sight. I think someone might have wanted to disguise himself as Han Sen to commit the act. You should go and take a deeper look. Do not allow the real assassin to remain lurking out there. Otherwise, Steel Scene will have died for nothing. He obviously wanted all those people to hurry up and leave. Zhao Long did not believe the words of the famous and spoiled crown prince, but his identity was too noble. He had to bite his tongue and just say, Mr. Crown Prince, thousands of guards and their family members witnessed Han Sen murder people. If this was really a setup, he has to come and help us with the investigation. If it is a setup, we can prove his innocence. Qin Bai pointed at Zhao Long and the others while he shouted, Asshole! Are all you people in the King's Guard rubbish? Are you all idiots? The King's Guard is in charge of the kingdom's safety. He was the general of the King's Guard. Yet he was murdered at home. You guys cannot even protect yourselves. Is there any point in keeping the rest of you employed? The Qin Kingdom's safety depends on you trash people protecting us all. I am afraid if someone invaded the palace and cut off my head and my father's head, you guys would have no clue what happened. My apologies. Zhao Long and the others kneeled to make their apology. The main general of the King's Guard had been murdered. That was a humiliation the King's Guard had never had to endure. Get lost! Qin Bai madly shouted. I told you I was with Han Sen the entire time. He cannot be the murderer. Hurry up and find the real murderer, you useless people. Zhao Long and the others looked worried. They knew they could not take Han Sen away. Qin Bai's identity was special. If he was Han Sen's alibi, it did not matter if it was true or false. This boy could not be held up to scrutiny. Zhao Long and Lu Xianxian looked at each other. They bowed and made their exit from the Feng family's castle. If this was another kingdom, it might have been entirely suppressed. Since he was the only heir of the king and the future king of the Qin kingdom, there was 80% to 90% that this incident was going to be suppressed. The Qin kingdom was different. Qin Bai's identity was a noble one, but the Qin kingdom respected its laws. Even Crown Prince Qin Bai was not able to do whatever he wanted. It might have seemed like Zhao Long and the others left, but they did not really leave. They kept some of the king's guards there to protect the castle. They surrounded the entire castle and reported what happened. They waited for a response from their supervisors. Before they decided anything, they were not going to allow Han Sen to leave their sights. The news quickly spread across the kingdom. Many of the government officials thought Qin Bai was a terrible and spoiled crown prince. They believed he was going to be a bad king. If this had happened in another kingdom, the situation would have been different. No matter how many mistakes a royal made, It was not something the officers could talk about. Insulting them was not tolerated. The Qin kingdom was very unique. Although everyone knew the Qin kingdom's laws were very twisted and unfair, Qin kingdom's officers were the people who took the law seriously and dared to speak up. Even if the king did something against the law, the government officers yelled at him for being a bad king. The king and the older officials would only listen and gnash their teeth. They still had to compliment the bravery of the officers. Otherwise, it would have gone against what everyone wanted. They did not want tyranny and bad kings. The Qin kingdom's officers were proud of that. Because the current king was so forgiving and kind, this criticism of the royals was very popular. The Qin kingdom was obsessed with order, and it was crazy about its law system. This twisted law system created the Qin kingdom, but also restricted it. Steel Scene being murdered was a hot topic. Qin Bai had angered many officers. The officers who thought they were very righteous even delivered suicide notes that stated if the king did not kill Han Sun, they would kill themselves in court. Of course, it meant what it meant, but it was not written down like quite that. Chapter 31:12 Courage. King Jingzhen's office desk was stacked with letters from the officers. Even if he did not open them, he was aware that the content included more bad-mouthing of the prince and requests to take a deeper look into the case involving Steel Scene's death. He knew the content would be very intense. It was like if he did not kill Han Sun, he would be a bad king. It was like they were saying if Han Sun was not dead, he would become a tyrannical villain governing the government. My king, Mr. Crown Prince is not coming to the palace, a eunuch reported. King Jingzhen looked surprised. He knew what his son's personality was like. No matter how headstrong he was, he still listened to his father. Qin Bai always listened to his commands. This time, Qin Bai had rejected his summons. This was something that had never happened before. Mr. Crown Prince said. The eunuch behaved quite awkwardly. Just tell it to me straight, King Jingzhen said. The eunuch said. The Crown Prince said if he cannot maintain his friend's innocence, there is no point in him being a crown prince. He said he would prefer not to be one. Nonsense! King Jingzhen shouted. In his heart, he had a growing interest in the enigmatic Han senator. He understood Qin Bai. He was just a kid who was never able to think for himself. His heart did not have any boundaries. Since there were no boundaries, it meant he didn't have a bottom line. He sometimes acted stubbornly. If it involved something that made him feel as if he was dealing with something much bigger than himself, he knew when to retreat. This time, Qin Bai had disobeyed him over Han Sun and said some very bold words. That was something extraordinarily rare. He did not usually act that way. King Jingzhen thought for a moment and said, Go and find Grand Teacher Thousand Mile Reach. Have him come here and bring back my son. Sand Mile Pohor scared of sea. Speaking of Grand Teacher Thousand Mile Reach had taught Qin Bai since he was a child. Speaking of fear, Qin Bai was more scared of Grand Teacher Thousand Mile Reach than Jingzhen. This small matter didn't actually require Thousand Mile Reach. King Jingzhen just wanted to see how far Qin Bai was willing to go. That was why he was going to ask Thousand Mile Reach to visit Qin Bai. The case regarding Steel Scene was too big. Even King Jingzhen was not able to sweep it under the rug. So he was not going to allow Qin Bai to have his way. Before the eunuch walked out, he asked this with hesitation. Mister, what if Thousand Mile Reach teacher cannot bring back the crown prince? If that happens we will summon Han Sun here, King Jingzhen said with a smile. He actually hoped that would happen. Having standards was a sign of someone growing up. That meant in his heart he had already established his own rules. Even if the rules were wrong, it still meant his son was growing up. Jingzhen knew Qin Bai did not know what boundaries and rules were. At least, in front of Thousand Mile Reach, what Qin Bai stood for might not be so stubbornly upheld. Thousand Mile Reach was a very serious grand teacher, who was very noble. King Jingzhen requested him to be a teacher for Qin Bai, but Qin Bai was naughty and a bit of a simpleton. Not even the best teacher had the skills to make him a better person. Qin Bai was always hit by Thousand Mile Reach. It had happened since he was a child. God knew how many times Thousand Mile Reach had smacked him. One time Qin Bai made a big mistake. Thousand Mile Reach struck him 30 times with a ruler. Qin Bai's hands were so swollen that he could not even eat. While Han Sun was playing chess, Qin Bai saw Thousand Mile Reach come in. He was so shocked that he jumped. Grand teacher, why are you here? Qinbai quickly stood up. His body was a bit stiff as he bowed before Thousand Mile Reach. His face twitched. He lowered his head, not daring to look at Thousand Mile Reach. He was like a schoolchild who had done something wrong. Thousand Mile Reach looked at Han Senator. His personality was very serious. After hearing about it, he didn't like what Han Sen had done. He saw Han Sen just sitting there as if he did not care about anything. He thought even less of him. Although Thousand Mile Reach did not like Han Sen, he did not say anything to him about it. He was not one of the king's guards, and he was not there to observe. He did not capture anyone. He was only there for Qinbai. Mr. Crown Prince, you have skipped your homework for 2 days. To be successful, you must work harder. Do not just spend your time playing around. To be successful, you must put in the effort. You will not be successful if you keep on messing around. You will one day become the king of the Qin kingdom. That is not something you should throw away, and you should not be this ridiculous. Why don't you just come back with me? Thousand Mile Reach grabbed Qinbai's hand, ready to depart the Feng family's castle. Qinbai looked stiff. He looked at Han Sen as if he was asking for help. He did not want to leave, but he was scared of Thousand Mile Reach. He could not fight back. Han Sen smiled at Qinbai. He did not try to stop his departure. It would have been great if Qinbai could stay, but if he was taken, that was fine by him. Although Han Sen asked for Qinbai's help, he did not put everything on Qinbai. He was a spoiled and stupid child. Han Sen had other things planned. It didn't matter to him if Qinbai was taken. Qinbai was pulled away by Thousand Mile Reach. He kept looking back at Han Senator. He wanted Han Sen to say something, but Han Sen did not say anything. He only smiled at him. For some reason, Qinbai saw Han Sen smile and felt uncomfortable. He did not know where the courage came from, but he stood there and refused to leave. Thousand Mile Reach pulled Qinbai very slightly. Qinbai stopped. Thousand Mile Reach also stopped. He looked at Qinbai and asked, Mr. Crown Prince, what is it? Thousand Mile Reach looked at Qinbai, who had lowered his head. His face looked green and then white. He gnashed his teeth and said, Teacher, I promised Han Sen I would stay with him. You always taught me that men need to keep their promises, and only bad people break them. What a king says is very important. I do not want to be the bad guy who never keeps his promises. Qinbai's words were not spoken with confidence. He lowered his head and did not even look at Thousand Mile Reach, but his teacher looked surprised. Qinbai had always been afraid of him. Now he had mustered the courage to say that to him. This was something that had never happened before. Thousand Mile Reach saw Qinbai was scared, but he did not want to leave. He looked at Han Senator. He could not force Qinbai to leave. If he needed to use force, the king would not have asked him there. Thousand Mile Reach nodded and let go of Qinbai. He walked over to Han Sen, who was still at the chess table. He knew that Qinbai alone would not have mustered such courage. Whoever gave him the courage had to have been the other young man. If he was able to persuade Han Sen, Qinbai's courage would vanish. Then he could be taken away. Chapter 31:13 Chess Legion. Thousand Mile Reach knew Han Sen was not an ordinary person. After all, he had been able to kill Steel Scene in Ice Snow God Temple. There was no doubt that Han Sen was a god-blood noble, and his blood pulse and gene race was stronger than Steel Scene. What did that matter? The Grand Teacher of the Qin Kingdom was the strongest elite around. He was far greater than Steel Scene. He would not have been allowed to be the king's teacher had that not been the case. Thousand Mile Reach always wanted to be a king's teacher, like Jian Bugu. He wanted to raise the king to become a great king. He had achieved so much for the kingdom. Thus far, Thousand Mile Reach had been stuck teaching Qinbai. He had not achieved much out of his efforts. As for potential awards, he had earned even less. Back in the day, Jian Bugu had taught King Jingzhen. Compared to Wu Wei Dao Palace, one could say he had the name of a teacher, but did not achieve much. Thousand Mile Reach always held Jian Bugu as somewhat of a role model. No matter what, he wanted to teach Qinbai to become a good person. He wanted him to develop into a good king who was at least as good as King Jingzhen. Thousand Mile Reach looked at Han Sen and asked, Are you Han Sen? Yeah. Han Sen sat where he was. He did not stand up. Thousand Mile Reach frowned. He was very noble. Even the king referred to him as a mister. Now Han Sen remained where he was while speaking to him. He thought the man was very rude. Thousand Mile Reach looked at the game of chess on the table. He sat opposite Han Sen and coldly asked, "Do you mind having a game with me?" Han Sen looked at Thousand Mile Reach and asked, "Do you know how to play checkers?" The Qin Kingdom did not have games like checkers. This was actually a chessboard. Han Sen had used his strength on the stone table. He had squeezed a stone and turned it into an orb to make the chess pieces. He had convinced Qin Bai to play. While he was in the alliance at home, Han Sen always played the game with his little linger or bower. Han Sen was very good when it came to formations, so he could play all kinds of chess games. Even in checkers, only Bauer was able to rival him. Not many people won against him. Thousand Mile Reach frowned. Han Sen did not even ask for his name. He was being very rude, but Thousand Mile Reach was not in the mood to address the subject. He coldly said, "It is very simple. To the deepest parts, there are different routes to take. I saw the Crown Prince and you playing chess. I know the rules. If you are interested, then I would like to play with you." Han Sen ignored Qin Bai and coldly laughed. Qin Bai was in a rush. He looked into Han Sen's eyes. Thousand Mile Reach was good at chess. He was so famous that even the king called him the king of chess. If Han Sen played chess against his teacher, Qin Bai was not worried he might lose. If he did lose, he might have to agree to something with Thousand Mile Reach. The situation surprised Qin Bai. Thousand Mile Reach did not establish any conditions. He only set up the chessboard and started playing with Han. Senator Thousand Mile Reach thought he was very good at chess. His chess skills were pretty good, but he did not plan on using chess skills to convince Han Sr. "Please, mister," Thousand Mile Reach coldly said. Han Sen did not mind. He picked up a stone orb and made his first move. When it was Thousand Mile Reach's turn, he used his finger to pick up a stone orb. He slowly went to the chessboard. Dong! When the stone orb was put down, it was like there was an invisible power in the center of the orb. It suddenly spread and twisted the space around it. Han Sen was sitting in front of the stone board. He suddenly felt the dimension become distorted. For some reason, he found himself standing atop a chessboard. The chessboard was the one he had created on the table. Now it was massive. The stone orb was bigger than a person. He was standing where the stone orb was. On the opposite end of the chessboard, Thousand Mile Reach was where he had put the stone orb down. Aside from the chessboard and the two of them, the environment around was shrouded by a black mist. It was like the chessboard world resided in an abyss. Han Sen did not move. He looked at Thousand Mile Reach as he said, "That was a good move, mister." Thousand Mile Reach was like a god floating above the chessboard. He was looking down on Han Sen from up high and said, "The chess path is a sky path. Playing chess is a gamble in life. I have a disaster class chess god spirit blood pulse. I have an ultimate chess element gene race. If you can survive the world power of this chess match, I can permit the Crown Prince to stay with you." While he spoke, Thousand Mile Reach pointed at Han Senator. A giant chess piece arose from his back. It was like an asteroid headed for Han Senator. Han Sen's body exploded with purple dragon air. At the same time, there was a weird purple scale on his body. It was growing. It activated the Blood Dragon God Spirit Blood, Pulse and Blood God Dragon power. Boom! Han Sen unleashed a punch that carried Blood Dragon flying into the weird scene. The roaring big, purple dragon struck the stone orb. A purple air explosion occurred. Dust was everywhere. Under the effect of powerful tremors, Han Sen lost control and stumbled back. His arms were numb. He had been truly shaken. Thousand Mile Reach coldly said, "Destroyed class God Spirit Blood Pulse combined with a rare exclusive God class gene race. It is only a shame that it is juvenile. If it reaches ultimate mode, perhaps it would have lasted longer." Han Sen thought, does a teacher have this much power? This universe of kingdoms has a lot of hidden elites. That was just a disaster class God Spirit Blood Pulse combined with a God class gene race? If there was an annihilation class or reboot class God Spirit combining with an ultimate mode gene race, how strong would it be? Does the Qin Kingdom have such people in its midst? Han Sen looked at Thousand Mile Reach ahead of him. He was a bit hesitant. He only depended on his gene race and God spirit blood pulse power. His power was far inferior to thousand-mile reach. If he was forced to break the rules of the world to beat him, it would shock many scary elites in Jade Wall City. Even the God spirits would come. Although many God spirits had revealed their fear of him, God spirits' attitudes were still mysterious. They never explained why they behaved the way they did. Hansen did not believe the reasons were anything simple. If he shocked a high-class God spirit, it probably would have ended up being a bad thing for him. Plus, breaking the rules of the world always cost him too much strength. He could never really last long in such a battle. He might not have been able to fight against the attacks of all the elites in the Qin Kingdom. If I cannot win by force, I must rely on my intelligence. Han Sun looked at Thousand-Mile Reach. He looked serious. You still won't concede. When Thousand-Mile Reach said that with his godly voice, he raised his hands. Every stone orb chess piece arose from the stone board. They looked like giant bombs hovering in the air. They used all kinds of strange flighting paths to strike Han Sr. Chapter 31:14 In the sky and on the ground. I am the best. The stone orb was like a sky full of stars. Thousand-Mile Reach used a mysterious way to reach Han Senator through the stars and chess pieces. He blocked every possible way for Han Sun to evade. Hansen squinted his eyes. He wanted to get up and go past the star tracks and appear before Thousand-Mile Reach. No matter how strong Thousand-Mile Reach was, he was not as strong as Han Senator if he was able to get in front of him. Han Sun could beat him up. In this world, when faced with Han Sun, humans were like sorcerers while he was a fighter. No matter how Han Sun's body was suppressed by the world, his strength remained. Even if it was a small skirmish, it would not have been difficult for him to beat Thousand-Mile Reach. Unfortunately, Han Sun had only just gathered up power. He moved but immediately froze. He looked at the stone orb that was flying down. He seemed to realize something. Because he was restrained by the rules of the world, his powers of sense were weak in the universe of kingdoms. Aside from ordinary vision and hearing, his sense powers were not strong. According to theory, when Hansen used body power, he felt a strong suppression from the rules of the world. It was like walking up a waterfall. This time, he gathered up power to move, and did not feel such a restriction. The chess world is not really a space world. It is just a mental world. Hansen now understood it. This was a psychological hallucination. It was a world that did not truly exist. His body was still sitting near the chessboard playing chess with Thousand-Mile Reach. His real body wasn't inside this world. This kind of mental world power is weird. As for competing one's mental powers with mine, even a god spirit wouldn't be able to fight me. Hansen felt a huge relief. If there was a power in that world that Hansen could still use, aside from his body, it was the mind he used to practice. He did not bother using it. With the power of attacks in the mental world, putting him inside a mental world was like placing a sheep in the mouth of a tiger. If Hansen discovered that, it would not work to defeat him. The stone orb, which looked like starlight, fell. Hansen stood where he was without dodging. He just calmly watched it. Thousand-Mile Reach saw Hansen's lips display a smile. For some reason, his heart jumped. There was some unsettling feel growing in his heart. No way. He has been pulled into my chess world. I am the god here. I can control everything. Thousand-Mile Reach was deep in thought. Seeing the stone orb was going to land on him, Hansen coldly said, "The sky and the earth are like chess. I am a chess piece, but so what? If there is no chess piece, then there can be no chess match. Without me, there is no sky and earth. I am the sky and the earth. The sky and the earth are me." His words sounded very crazy. Thousand-Mile Reach coldly grunted and wished to say something. He suddenly saw the stone orb uncontrollably stop. It was like stars were spinning around Han Senator. Thousand-Mile Reach was shocked. He quickly used gene race powers for his chess world. He wanted to take back control of the chess world's power. He was frightened to learn that under the chess god's buff, the chess world's mental power was unable to move Hansen's will. How is that possible? Is his willpower stronger than a disaster-class god spirit? Thousand-Mile Reach looked at Hansen with shock. He could not believe this was happening. In the sky and on the ground, I am the best. Whoever follows me will be treated nicely. Whoever stands in my way will die. Han Sen's voice was like that of a god. The whole chess world kept changing. Many stone orbs turned into scary knife lights that tore up space. It was like it was destroying the sky and the ground. It was like a tide going into thousand-mile reach. Just as Han Sen thought, their bodies were perched at the chessboard. They were just sitting there. Old Yang, what is going on? They moved one chess piece. Suddenly, Han Sen and the teacher stopped moving. Qin Bai looked at the two of them, unaware of what was actually going on. Crown Prince, I do not know either. Mr. Yang smiled. Li Bingyu was nearby. She looked at Qin Bai's back. She struggled with indecision. Thousand-Mile Reach has a chess soul god spirit blood pulse. He is a high-class god blood noble. He has the ultimate mode god class gene race called Chess World Teacher. His power is not something Han Sen is capable of dealing with. Han Sen has just made a big mistake. If his psychology breaks and Crown Prince Qin Bai is taken away, he is going to die. This is my final chance to assassinate Qin Bai. Although she thought this way, the entire Feng Castle was surrounded by the king's guards. There were also many elites there. If she assassinated Qin Bai, she had nowhere to run. If she missed out on this opportunity, she wouldn't get another. If he can break Qin Kingdom's bloodline, then sacrificing my life would be worth it for that endeavor. Li Bingyu made her decision. She decided to kill Qin Bai. She felt shocked shortly after and looked away. She saw Jian Bugu was holding a tea set. He was walking toward them from afar. He had a very innocent smile on his face. Li Bingyu immediately stopped her murder attempt. She could not do it because of Han Sen and Jian Bugu. Han Sen was controlled by Thousand-Mile Reach, but Jian Bugu was still there. Although Jian Bugu made the promise not to use power, he used to be the Qin Kingdom's king teacher. He was King Jingzhen's teacher. Li Bingyu did not think he would just sit and watch the only extension of the Qin Kingdom's bloodline be murdered. Even if I do not fight now, I will not have another chance. While Li Bingyu was still hesitating, the chessboard displayed movement. Li Bingyu looked over there. She saw Thousand-Mile Reach sitting there holding a chess piece. He suddenly coughed up a mouthful of blood that dyed the chessboard red. He collapsed onto the floor. Thousand-Mile Reach laid on the floor with a pale face. His white beard was colored red due to the blood. He opened his eyes in shock and looked at Han Senator. The people watching were shocked. They wondered why Thousand-Mile Reach had become like that after only moving one chess piece. Teacher, you never played checkers before. It is normal for you not to know how to play it. You do not need to rush this. Qin Bai quickly went to hold Thousand-Mile Reach. He comforted him, but he was very happy. Inside he thought, Han Sen is very powerful. He made the teacher end up like this. With Han Sen by my side, he will never bully me again. Qin Bai picked up Thousand-Mile Reach. He pointed at Han Sen and wished to say something, but he suddenly saw another person next to Han Senator. He was holding a tea set. Mister, the tea is done. Jian Bugu put the tea set down in front of Han Sr. When Thousand-Mile Reach saw Jian Bugu's face, he was given a shock. His eyes almost popped out of their sockets. It was like he had seen a ghost. He shook off Qin Bai's arm, went forward and bowed. Teacher Jian, why are you here? Mister, you have mistaken me with someone else. I am only Mr. Han's servant. I am not a teacher. Jian Bugu placed a teacup in front of Thousand-Mile Reach. He told him to enjoy it and left. Chapter 31:15 Teacher Jian Bugu. Thousand-Mile Reach was very shocked. He almost forgot the way out while leaving Feng Castle. That man had to be Jian Bugu. It has to be. It has to be Teacher Jian, but how could he? Thousand-Mile Reach was very confused. He could not understand why Grand Teacher Jian Bugu would call himself Han Sen's servant. That was far too shocking. That was Jian Bugu. He was one of the very few elites in the Qin Kingdom. Not even the likes of the almighty Wu Dao Palace were able to overcome him. They had all been kicked out by him. They were not even able to start up religion in the Qin Kingdom. Full of suspicious emotions, Thousand-Mile Reach returned to the palace and went straight to speak with King Jingzhen. Thousand-Mile Reach said with a smile, "My king, I am useless. I was unable to bring Mr. Crown Prince back." "Oh, is my son really being that stubborn this time?" King Jingzhen was truly surprised. Mr. Crown Prince is very stubborn, Thousand Mile Reach replied. Han Sen did not ask anything, yet he did insist on staying in the foam castle. King Jingzhen nodded. He looked at Thousand Mile Reach and felt strange. Teacher, you do not seem to be looking so good. My king, I used the chess world to deal with Han Sen, but I was the one who ended up being hurt by him, Thousand Mile Reach said with a bitter look. I believe he must have a very special God Spirit blood pulse. It might be an Annihilation class God Spirit blood pulse that features mental powers. From what he knew, the ability to survive his chess world and use strong enough psychological powers to take over and control the chess world meant the man had to have had a stronger God Spirit blood pulse. There was no other explanation. Annihilation class God Spirit blood pulse? King Jingzhen frowned. In the whole universe of kingdoms, they had only found 12 Annihilation class God temples. King Qin was the strongest. One country had 4 Annihilation class God temples, which was why the Qin kingdom was once so powerful. The other 6 big kingdoms usually only had 1 or 2 Annihilation class God temples. The strongest one only had 3 Annihilation class God temples. The Qin kingdom had 4 Annihilation class God temples, 2 of which were controlled by the royals. The other 2 were under the command of other nobles who were not from the Qin kingdom. After their country was destroyed, they came to the Qin kingdom and became pillars of it. In fact, after the Qin kingdom established its law system, many elites flocked to the Qin kingdom. Naturally, that led to a strengthening of the Qin kingdom. That was why the Qin kingdom maintained its law system, and the king and officers kept talking about it. Aside from the 12 Annihilation class God temples, it was not like there weren't other ways to get an Annihilation class God Spirit blood pulse. Within some Super God Spirit blood pulse, there were original God Spirit blood pulse and weird scenes. If one was lucky enough to find one could get an Annihilation class God Spirit blood pulse. Those God Spirit blood pulse were considered wild. Because there weren't any God temples, there were no God Spirits combined buffs. Thus, wild God Spirit blood pulse were usually weaker than the average God Spirit blood pulse. No matter how weak they were, Annihilation God Spirit blood pulse were frightening regardless of where they came from. They made King Jingzhen take such a thing very seriously. King Jingzhen frowned and said, "This Han Sen has an Annihilation God Spirit blood pulse and is that close with the Crown Prince. Is there some kind of trick or conspiracy at play here?" Thousand Mile Reach looked weird as he said, "My king, I do not know if there is a problem with Han Sen, but I saw Jianbugu by his side." "What? Are you talking about my teacher?" King Jingzhen stood up with his eyes wide open. To King Jingzhen, Jianbugu was not just a teacher. It was like the relationship between Thousand Mile Reach and Qin Bai. Jianbugu watched King Jingzhen grow up. He was not just an officer. They were more like father and son. Deep inside King Jingzhen's heart, Jianbugu was a very special person whom he had relied on. It was not something people easily understood. Jianbugu was different from Thousand Mile Reach. He was not a harsh teacher, but he had shaped King Jingzhen into becoming a good king. 10 years ago, King Jingzhen wanted to kick Wu Wei Dao Palace out of the Qin kingdom. He forced Jianbugu, who had deep ties with the Wu Wei Dao Palace, to fight them. Jianbugu followed the orders and went to the Wu Wei Dao Palace. He exiled them out of the Qin kingdom. After that, Jianbugu left a letter and quit his post. He made the promise never to fight again. King Jingzhen did not regret his decision. Wu Wei Dao Palace had affected many citizens. If he had not removed them, the government would not have been able to control the people. Plus, Jianbugu was the only one who could have done it. He did not regret it, but he did feel guilty about Jianbugu. Over the years he had sent many people to seek out Jianbugu, but the seekers always came back empty-handed. He was shocked to hear he might have suddenly been found. King Jingzhen was shaking as he asked, Teacher, how is he?" Thousand Mile Reach's expression looked strange. He opened his mouth, but he was unsure of what to say. Did something happen to him? King Jingzhen's body shook. He understood Jianbugu, who once said he would not fight for 20 years. He was the sort of person to see something like that through. Even if it cost him his life, he would not fight. He had been worrying about that prospect. He was the one who sent Jianbugu to fight strong enemies like the Wu Wei Dao Palace. And Jianbugu lost the protection of the Qin kingdom without the ability to defend himself. It was hard to imagine the consequences of something like this. He was worried Jianbugu was dead. No. You misunderstand. Teacher Jian is fine. He is not injured, but Thousand Mile Reach hesitated. He could not say it. Mr. Thousand Mile, stop hesitating. What is the matter? King Jingzhen now knew Jianbugu was alive. While he was relieved to hear that, he still wanted to learn more about his condition. Thousand Mile Reach gnashed his teeth and said, Jianbugu told me Han Sun was his master. What? King Jingzhen was shocked, which turned into anger. He chomped down on his teeth hard as he shouted, Goddamn that Han Sun! How dare he humiliate my teacher! I am going to kill everyone he knows. Please don't be mad. Thousand Mile Reach quickly implored. Teacher Jian is very strong. If he was not willing to, not even a sky full of spirits could make him kneel. I do not think Teacher Jian was forced. He was really polite to Han Senator. I think there has to be a good reason for it. King Jingzhen was not a tyrant. After thinking about it for a bit, his anger faded. Teacher Jian was next to Han Sun when I saw him today, Thousand Mile Reach said. I think he is going to protect Han Senator if you kill Han Sun. It might destroy Teacher Jian's plan. King Jingzhen nodded. If the teacher is next to Han Sun and that guy has a problem, the teacher would do something. If the teacher does not mind him and does not stop my son from getting close with him, I guess Han Sun is an okay individual. After pausing a moment, King Jingzhen presented a wry smile. The trouble Han Sun has stirred up makes this a difficult situation to navigate. Chapter 31:16 Super God Spirit Blood Pulse. Appears the whole of the Big Qin Kingdom wanted Han Sun dead. But who would have figured Han Sun would not end up arrested? He was holed up in the Feng family's castle surrounded by the king's guards. Although the king had extended comfort to the Steel family, the king did not talk about Han Sun being responsible for the killing of Steel Scene. The officers on the case only said they were investigating it. Seeing this entire thing was coming to an end, the officers who were so proud of their law system could no longer sit back and watch. All of them wrote letters asking King Jingzhen to right the wrongs and not allow criminals to get off scot-free. Otherwise, the kingdom was to become bad, and chaos would claim everything. There were even officers outside the palace kowtowing. They were shouting various slogans about arresting criminals and upholding the practice of law. It was like if they did not kill Han Sun, the entire kingdom would fall apart. The letters were like snowflakes piling up on King Jingzhen's table. Usually, he did not receive that many letters. King Jingzhen had to take a step back. This time, inside the palace, there was not much movement. Only the officers who were on the case were given an answer a few days later. After the investigation, other people were deemed responsible for the murder of Steel Scene. It was revealed that Han Sun was set up. The officers in the government had many sources. Everybody knew that no one had investigated the case properly. Han Sun was not questioned the entire time. He was inside the Feng castle. How was the case over so soon? The entirety of Jade Wall City was reeling in shock. Overnight, Han Sun had become the biggest villain in the kingdom. Crown Prince Qin Bai had become the most ridiculous and dumbest crown prince in history. It was unknown who incited all of this. Many nobles were gathering at Feng Castle to protest. There were even some nobles swearing outside the palace, saying the Qin kingdom had an absurdly incompetent crown prince. Something like this had never happened before in the Qin kingdom, and the matters were becoming worse. Not even King Jingzhen knew what to do about the nobles and officers. The twisted laws of the Qin kingdom were unique. They were what brought the Qin kingdom from being on the brink of collapse to a glorious nation again. They also made the Qin kingdom's glory unable to reach a higher zenith. The nobles of the Qin kingdom were very influential. They fought against royalty. Even King Jingzhen was not able to do whatever he wanted. He was significantly restricted with what he could do. The royals had 2 annihilation-class god temples. The nobles also did. The royals had elites, but the nobles had even more. There were many times when King Jingzhen had to concede. It created a strange balance inside the Qin kingdom's government. This time, King Jingzhen was not going to concede. No matter how much the officers sent letters or how many loyal officers cried and threatened to kill themselves, King Jingzhen did not say anything. He said the case was over, and that was that. The nobles and officers did not give up. With grand fury, they were still against the decision. Han Sen did not care. He just hid inside the foam castle, eating and drinking. Han Sen, when I go back to the palace, will father kill me? Qinbai asked with fear. He thought things had become too big for him. Do not worry, Han Sen said with a smile. If the king did not come in to capture you or me, that means he has allowed you to remain here. Upon hearing that, Qinbai felt better, but he was still worried. The Qin kingdom's nobles were the most powerful in the 7 kingdoms. They were willing to fight against the royals. Qinbai knew about that. Outside, many nobles were surrounding Foam Castle. That made him worry profusely. It was only now Han Sen learned that the Qin kingdom's nobles had such power. Not even the royals were able to clamp down on them. This time he had killed Steel Scene and triggered the nobles and their benefits. He had started a conflict between the nobles and royals. From the results, the royals could not take on everything. Seeing Jianbugu, whose eyes were like jade, focus on working, Han Sen really wanted to fight him. He wanted to see how strong the world's strongest elite truly was. It was a shame Jianbugu said he would never fight again. He would not fight back, even if it cost him his life. Han Sen was not going to force him. Han Sen thought the nobles were going to keep annoying them. After 2 days, the nobles were all gone. Are they really that impatient? They should not be. Han Sen thought their absence was weird. With the time he had spent in the Qin kingdom, he knew the people should not have backed off so easily. Feng Fei had other people go to figure it out. The gold crystal system had an infinite light. It covered the whole system, turning it into a rainbow sun. Everyone knew this was the weird scene of a super god spurt blood pulse showing up. The nobles did not have time to keep annoying Han Senator. They all ran to the gold crystal system to dig up a gene egg. According to the Qin kingdom's first Mr. Wei, who was Bald Guy's master, that god spirit blood pulse had a weird scene that shocked the world. That place probably had a high-class god spirit blood pulse. It made the nobles go crazy. If there was an annihilation class god spirit blood pulse and they had possessed it, then they would go into the skies with one step. Even if they could not get an annihilation class god spirit blood pulse, this was a super god spirit blood pulse. There were many gene eggs, so there would eventually be a god class gene race. I have never seen such a super god spirit blood pulse before. Let's go and take a look. Han Sen knew the nobles and officers would not let him go so easily, but he did not want to be trapped with the Feng family and do nothing. He wanted to explore. After witnessing the power of Thousand Mile Reach, he thought getting a powerful god spirit blood pulse or gene race would be a good thing. It would help him achieve all the things he had wanted to do. After all, breaking the rules cost too much trouble. It cost him too much trouble, especially since he couldn't break them for long. Since the nobles had already fallen back, Han Sen sent Qinbai back. He did not want Qinbai to follow him around. If something happened, he could not go back to Jade Wall City. Mr. Yang and Jianshi, the mother and the daughter, had to run the online shop. They could not go with Han Sen either. Jianbugu, who was unable to fight, had to remain. Han Sen was ready to go alone, but Li Bingyu insisted on going with him. Han Sen did not reject her offer. Han Sen did not know much about the universe of kingdoms, so having someone knowledgeable along would be helpful. He used a quantum teleporter to enter the gold crystal system's heavy soil area. They saw a giant rainbow sun in the sky. The system around was clear. It was like it was right above their heads. Han Sen knew it wasn't a real sun. It was a giant system, but the light was too bright. That was why it looked like a sun. Chapter 31:17 Gold Crystal System. An Ink-Eye Beast. Selling an Ink-Eye Beast. On the streets, many people were selling gene races. Ink-Eye Beasts were the best-selling ones at the moment. Han Sen asked around as to why that was. He was told the gold crystal system was too shiny. Continued exposure to the light led to damaged eyesight. If people had Ink-Eye Beasts, their eyes could be shielded from the harmful effects of the light. Also, in the light, they were able to see further than normal. Whichever noble went to dig gene eggs in the gold crystal system typically possessed a gene race like that. If they did not have one, they'd fork over the money to purchase one. Otherwise, if they entered the god crystal system, they could be rendered blind. The ink-eye beast was only a barren gene race, but it cost 10,000 for each one. It was more expensive than the average Viscount gene race. Han Sen's eyes were stronger than god-class gene races, so he did not need the aid of an ink-eye beast. He looked at Li Bingyu and asked, "Ghost Kill, do you require an ink-eye beast?" Li Bingyu shook her head and said, "I have a gene race with a similar function. I do not need a gene race of such a low level. If you need one, it is best not to buy an ink-eye beast. That gene race is too low of a level. Its abilities are poor. It can enable you to go into the early zones. If you want to do deeper into the god spirit blood pulse, the ink-eye beast is not going to be able to shield your eyes from the powerful light. You are going to have to combine with something." Han Sen nodded. He prepared to go to the gold crystal system when he heard someone call out his name. "Han Sen, wait for me." A big, bald man was in the crowd ahead, standing out like a sore thumb. He was running toward Han Sen, waving at him. "Bald guy, why are you here?" Han Sen asked. Bald guy looked cocky as he said, "I am a student of Mr. Wei, and there is a word of a magnificent god spirit blood pulse being here. How could I not come?" Li Bingyu was surprised by that. She looked at the man's bald head as she asked, "Mr. Wei is here?" Bald head nodded. "Master and a few other brothers are here too. We are going to conduct a large operation. We are going to find ourselves a god-class gene egg. How about you accompany us?" Han Sen did not answer. Not too far away, he heard another person talking strangely. "Brother bald guy, don't say that. This guy is loved by the crown prince. He is very noble. We do not have what it takes to be by his side." A dozen people walked forward. At the center of the crew was an elder with a white beard. The man who was speaking was a middle-aged man clad in armor. The set of armor was beautiful. It was not something cheap. "Third brother, how could you say such a thing?" Bald guy looked glum. The middle-aged man smiled. "Brother bald guy, did you not hear what I said? In that case, I will say it clearly. It is fine that you want to buddy up with evil, but do not bring harm to the reputation of your teacher. It might be fine if you want to be with him, but don't drag us all down with you. I do not want people talking behind my back." Bald guy was incredibly angry. He wished to say something, but the white-bearded elder said, "That is enough, Yufei. Stop messing around. Time is of the essence. We need to find the land pulse. We do not have time to waste around here." Bald guy looked upset. He gnashed his teeth and said, "Do whatever you want. I am going with Han Sr." The white-haired elder frowned. He wanted to say something, but the third brother said, "Big brother, just ignore him. He is not that good. It does not change a thing if we go with or without him. He loves to be with people in high places, so why should we stand in the way of his petty dreams of becoming famous?" The white-bearded elder shook his head. "Yufei, you know where we are going to go. Just come back later." "It is fine, big brother," bald guy replied. "You do not have to wait. Just tell my teacher I will be going to Gold Crystal System with my friend." "In that case, I wish you luck," the middle-aged man said in a mocking tone of voice. "I hope you can find the god-class gene egg." "Brother 3, stop it." The white-bearded elder stopped the middle-aged man and led him away. After they walked away, bald guy laughed. "Han Sen with me, bald guy here, you do not need to worry. I promise I will find you something. I can believe that." Han Sen had no hope that bald guy could find him a gene egg, but bald guy still admitted to the others he was a friend. That made him feel touched. After all, Han Sen was a person who was hated everywhere. He was an enemy of all the other nobles. Claiming he was a friend of his would undoubtedly damage his own reputation. It might even have put him in danger. The three of them hit the road. Baldhead was telling Han Sen that the god spirit blood pulse there was unusual. Because the magnet fields had changed, Gold Crystal System had a super god spirit blood pulse. According to Mr. Wei's calculations, the god spirit blood pulse there would have a destroyed class god spirit blood pulse, and some god class gene eggs up for grabs. Bald guy laughed. "I do not have a level high enough to find where the blood pulse generates, But it will not be hard to find where the God-class gene egg is. You guys should just follow me. Because the magnetic fields were very strong, all kinds of tools in the gold crystal system were broken. Airships were unable to fly into there. Bald Guy summoned a big dragon-like gene race. He showed it off to Han Sr. This is an evolved ultimate God-class gene race. It is called a God Wind Dragon. Its flying speed makes it one of the best out of all the gene races. This gene race does look pretty awesome. Hansen looked at the 3-foot-long God Wind Dragon and laughed. With a touch of cockiness he replied, "What do you mean by pretty awesome? It is awesome. We need it to traverse the gold crystal system. Come on up." Bald Guy sat on the God Wind Dragon's back. Hansen did not decline the offer. Li Bingyu also got on the God Wind Dragon's back. The God Wind Dragon flapped its wings and flew away like a typhoon. It was headed for the shiny gold crystal system. They were in space. Hansen saw many people there. They were all riding different kinds of gene races, flying into the gold crystal system. They were mostly gene races used for livestock. There were some weird flying tigers and bats. All sorts of weird gene races were seen. Bald Guy pointed at the gene races and introduced them to Han Sr. "That 4-winged tiger is not bad, but it is not as good as my God Wind Dragon." Hansen was interested in the topic. He was intently listening when he suddenly felt a big movement inside his Sea of Soul. After it swallowed the black crystal armor, the gold wing peacock hadn't been able to be used because it was evolving. Now that evolution process had finished. The gold light, which looked like an egg, had a crack. Some shiny sort of gold light leaked out. When the light cracks were bigger, the gold light grew brighter. In the end, it was like a golden sun shining in his Sea of Soul. Suddenly the light went dim. As that happened, Hansen saw that the gold wing peacock had finished evolving. Its golden feathers looked dreamy. Its body glowed with a god light. It was like a god bird straight out of mythology. Above the gold wing peacock king, the black crystal armor did not move an inch. It had no life force. It looked as if it was dead. Hansen looked at the gold wing peacock king's information. It made him happy. He discovered it had already reached ultimate mode. Chapter 31:18 Top Class Talent Gene Race Gold Wing Peacock King. Mutant God Class Gene Race. Ultimate Mode Skills. Gold God Ring Peacock King Eye. Sky full of feathers. After examining the details of the Gold Wing Peacock King, Hansen was even happier. That Gold Wing Peacock King had 3 gene skills. It had top-notch talents. Ordinary juvenile gene races only had 1 gene skill. There was a chance of some having none. If there weren't any gene skills, they had to wait until they were adults before receiving their gene skills. Each time they leveled up, there was a chance of gene skills being awoken inside a gene race. Still, that chance wasn't very high. Ultimate mode gene races could have 3 skills at the most. Even if ordinary gene races did reach ultimate mode, they rarely possessed 3 gene skills. Having 2 was already quite phenomenal. Most of them only had 1 gene skill. Some gene races did not even have a single gene skill. The Gold Wing Peacock King had 3. It was definitely the best of the best. If Hansen wanted to sell it, the price could be a few times or a dozen times more than the same species at the same level of gene race with only 1 skill. This was especially true with gene races with 3 skills. If a gene race was rare and the gene skill was useful, it would go for the highest price. Hansen had only seen a juvenile gene skill Gold God Wing. After combining, he was given golden wings. After he activated it, there was a break space flying power available, and the gold wings had a scary destructive power. The wings behaved like blades that could cut through anything. As for the Peacock King Eye and Sky full of feathers, they were the awakened gene skills. Hansen did not know what they did. They were getting close to gold crystal system. The light was getting extremely bright. Li Bingyu and Bald Guy combined with gene races to block it. Hansen did not need to combine with a gene race, but he still wanted to try. He attempted combining with his Gold Wing Peacock King. A blurry gold, glassy god light shone on Hansen. The peacock wings, which were made of gold, appeared. Hansen's eyes had a shiny god light in them. It was like they were swirling with gold. They looked weirdly pretty. His long, gold hair was wavy like a waterfall. Every strand of hair was like crystal. It was like there was a glassy god light spinning inside it. As V after combining with it, Han-sun was affected by the gold-wing peacock king's genes and presence. His face and body seemed to become longer. He looked rather pretty but somewhat like an evil king. Bald Guy looked at Han-sun with shock. After a while he swallowed his saliva and asked, Han-sun, what is that gene race you have? Where did you get it from? Do you still have it? Li Bingyu looked at Han Senator. She had a strange expression. After combining with the gold-wing peacock king, Han-sun looked far too pretty and handsome. He looked more handsome than an evil god. His entire body had an evil, pretty aura that was quite attractive. The gold-wing peacock king, Han-sun replied. Oh, I dug it up. I do not know if there is another of the same type of gene race. That is a shame. Your gene race looks really awesome after combining with it. If I, Bald Guy, had a gene race like that, perhaps my dreams would come true. Maybe I could have got 1,000 lotus. Bald Guy looked at Han-sun with excitement. He then asked, is your gene race up for sale? If you sell it, the price is of no object. I will squander all of my savings and buy it from you. Han-sun had heard the god 1,000 lotus name before. With Feng Fei Fei it was the same. She was one of the 3 big singers in the Qin kingdom. Bald Guy obviously had a crush on her. He always talked about her, but she had no interest in him. I am not selling it. It was not easy for Han-sun to get his hands on that ultimate mode gene race. Han-sun wanted to use it. He wasn't ready to pawn it off just yet. The blood god dragon was also under Han-sun's command. It had swallowed the black crystal armor to enter evolution mode. It would be hatching before too long. The only gene races Han-sun had to rely on now were the gold-wing peacock king and the blood ghost spirit. It was a shame that the two of them could not become an exclusive blood dragon god spirit blood pulse gene race. It was hard to receive the boons of a blood dragon god spirit blood pulse. Their powers would have been inferior to the blood god dragon. Bald Guy thought it was a shame, but he had not even asked Han-sun about the level or power of the gold-wing peacock king. That was something very private. It was something unremarkable, so no one would have asked about it. After getting close to the gold crystal system, they were able to see that it was not a big sun. It was a system made of many lights. Most planets did not glow. Only planets like a sun glowed. Most other planets only reflected the light. Now all the gold crystal system's planets were glowing with a scary light. The ordinary rocks and trees on the planets shone like treasures. Even the man-made buildings and machines glowed in the incandescent radiance. The entire world looked as if it had been carved out of precious gemstones. It was incredibly holy. Bald Guy pointed at the god wind dragon and commanded it to fly to a planet the humans lived on. When he saw what was glowing behind the buildings, his face changed. He said, "This god spirit blood pulse is too shocking. Even some spiritless items that are man-made have been touched by the scent of the god spirit blood pulse. It is far scarier than I imagined. Perhaps there is a rare gene race being born." A rare gene race, huh? Han-sun's heart jumped. During the past 2 days, he had not seen the big sky demon. He didn't know if she was still following him around or not. Because the planet was close to the edge of the gold crystal system, many human nobles were able to travel there. They saw many people digging all around and across the place. Bald Guy looked at them with much disdain. He steered the god wind dragon deeper into the gold crystal system. He said, "They don't know anything about god spirit blood pulses. They are here to dig gene eggs. They will not be able to dig up a thing. This god spirit blood pulse is very scary, but not just anywhere will have a gene egg." Han-sun asked, "Where might there be a gene egg?" Bald Guy seriously said, "In this place, the god spirit blood pulse has a lot of light. Usually, light and heat are elements that mesh well together. Although the light in this place is weird, the temperature has not changed. Judging from the light that is around this place, and if I have guessed it correctly, this god spirit blood pulse is in the light abyss formation." "Are you saying that the Qin kingdom had a light abyss god spirit blood pulse 20 years ago?" Li Bingyu suddenly said. Bald Guy nodded with excitement. "Yes. This place is very similar to the light abyss the Qin kingdom had. This light abyss has an annihilation class wild god spirit blood pulse. It created the Qin kingdom. A general there, named Tian Shan, shocked the world. The formation here is similar to that light abyss. Perhaps it will have an annihilation class wild god spirit blood pulse. Chapter 31:19 A land pulse that shocks the sky. You've been talking a lot, but you have yet to tell us where we can dig up the gene egg. Hansen did not understand anything about the light abyss, and he had never heard of Tian Shan. He just wanted to know where he could find a gene egg. Bald guy laughed. There's no need to rush proceedings. Although the formation is similar, in this world, it is impossible to have two god spirit blood pulses that are completely the same. Even if they were similar, there would be differences. You need to calculate the granular details. We should go forward. If we reach an area where there might be a gene egg, I will be able to tell. Hansen was able to tell the man was very smart. He was clever but not truly excellent. He could not locate a gene egg via discerning the god spirit blood pulse's direction. He could only discover one when it was within his proximity. Even so, he was better at it than Hans Senator, thus, he had to listen to him. The god wind dragon was headed deeper into the gold crystal system. They traveled past many planets. Bald Guy said past every single one of them until the fourth day of their journey. It was then that Bald Guy's eyes turned bright. He looked toward a planet and said, "That planet has a high-class gene egg on it." Hansen looked in that direction and saw a lifeless planet covered in rocks and dust. There was also a large crater on it, which had been left behind by a meteorite. At this time, the rocks and dust were shining like gems. They were almost glowing. Hansen had seen many varieties of this kind of planet the past 4 days. He was not able to tell what was so special about this planet. Bald Guy steered the god wind dragon in the direction of the planet. He commanded it to fly low and look around. Not long later, he happily said, "This cannot be an incorrect judgment. This place must have a gene egg." Although this god spirit blood pulse was scary, since it had just formed, the gene race inside the god spirit blood pulse had yet to hatch. They did not need to worry. The biggest danger they faced was the other humans there to dig up the gene eggs and gene races that already existed. Such a scary god spirit blood pulse had been born. If there was a gene race that already lived there, and they had consumed many gene eggs, they could have evolved terribly. But this was a lifeless planet. No one was able to see a gene race, so they did not have to worry. As to the presence of other humans, Hansen had yet to spot anyone else. After the three of them came to a halt, they started digging in the area Bald Guy marked. After digging under a stone for 3 feet, they saw a white light gene egg. It was the size of a basketball. It was like a snow-white jade. Bald Guy happily grabbed the gene egg. After looking at it, he determined that he could not identify what sort of gene egg it was. Although I do not know which species this is, judging from its look and presence, it's not a low-class gene race. It should be at least a Marquise-class gene race. We should keep digging. This land pulse should contain more than one gene egg. After saying that, Bald Guy put the gene eggs aside to keep digging. Just as Bald Guy had said, they found 4 gene eggs from the land pulse. They all looked to be the same kind. Bald Guy kept 2 from the haul. Hansen and Li Bingyu each received 1. The 3 of them remained on the planet searching for land pulses and digging gene eggs. It really was a super god spirit blood pulse. There were many land pulses and gene eggs. It only took them half a day to find 4 land pulses. They dug up a dozen gene eggs. Unfortunately, they were only Marquise and Duke class. Although their levels were not too low, and they were likely worth quite a bit, they were of no use to Hans Senator in the meantime. Many humans riding gene races flew through the skies. Most of them left when laying eyes on the god wind dragon. The god wind dragon's ultimate body was quite intimidating. It made Bald Guy's cockiness increase. Hansen and Li Bingyu followed Bald Guy. They all managed to dig up a trove of gene eggs. Bald Guy kept leading the god wind dragon to locate land pulses. After finding a land pulse, he gave it to Hansen and Li Bingyu and continued the search. The 3 of them worked together quite well. Hansen did not think there was a problem, but Li Bingyu felt scorned. This Bald Guy is very good at bluffing, but his god spirit blood pulse knowledge is fairly average. The gold crystal system really is a place like a light abyss, But the gold crystal system itself is made of 7 planets. It has a 7-star fighting formation, which affects the light abyss formation. It will become a ghost star light formation. Once in that formation, there are only 7 real places that can yield a god-class gene egg. This planet is not one of 7 planets with 7 stars. Li Bingyu was quite knowledgeable about land pulses. She also had deeply investigated God Spirit blood pulse skills. Although she was not as great as Mr. Wei, she was better than Bald Guy, who had only learned half of what she knew. How do I lure Han Sun to the real 7 planets? Li Bingyu followed Han Senator. Her primary purpose was not for digging up a gene egg. She wanted to know how strong Han Sen's power truly was. Although everyone claimed he murdered Steel Scene in the Ice Snow God Temple, it was seemingly just a legend. No one had actually witnessed what Han Sun was really like. Bald Guy seemed hurried as he rode the God Wind Dragon to where Han Sun was. He shouted at Han Sun, who was in the middle of digging, "Old Han, stop digging. You should come here. I found something good." "I have almost finished here," Han Sun said while he kept digging. "I can go there later." Bald Guy jumped down and pulled Han Sun with him. He dragged him out of the hole and said, "What are you digging for?" "I found a land pulse that can shock the sky. It might have a god-class gene egg. Let's forget about this one. We can come back later." After that, Bald Guy pulled Han Sun onto the God Wind Dragon. He invited Li Bingyu along for the ride. They flew toward a mountain that had high and low spots. Li Bingyu thought, "I'll be damned if they can find a god-class gene egg here." The God Wind Dragon flew to the upper part of the small, stone mountain. Bald Guy looked at the stone mountain's position and said, "Look at what is over there." Han Sun and Li Bingyu went toward where Bald Guy pointed. They saw the little stone mountain had an old tree at its center. Han Sun did not know any land pulse skills, and he could not feel the presence of the old tree. But he knew that the old tree must have been very special. This was a planet without life, so this was not just any old tree. Even bacteria were unable to live there, so how could an old tree be growing? Han Sun had a closer look. The old tree had a lot of fruit on it. The branches bloomed with pink flowers. It was like a plum tree. The entire gold crystal system was affected by the god spirit blood, Pulse's weird light, but the old tree did not shine. It was like an ordinary tree. It was full of flowers. Although it looked very average, it was strange for this ordinary plum tree to be where it was. Chapter 31:20 Under the plum tree. Han Sun looked at Bald Guy and asked, "What is this land pulse's plum tree weird scene?" Bald Guy touched his big, bald head. He looked rather embarrassed as he said, "Although I cannot tell what this weird scene is, I am pretty sure it is an amazing one." Han Sun looked disdainfully at him. Bald Guy wasn't really making much sense. Although he had never learned God Pulse skills, he could tell there was something odd going on there. Li Bingyu was shocked. Via her observational talents, she knew the planet was not one of the key God Pulses of the gold crystal system. It should not have been able to produce a powerful weird scene. But that plum tree was far too strange. It was hard for people to imagine. Do not think about it too much. Let's just dig it out of the ground. There must be some good stuff here. Perhaps we will even find a God Spirit blood pulse. After saying that, Bald Guy started to dig. He did not plan on scoping out any other land pulses. Han Sun and Li Bingyu helped out. On the mountain, the terrain was rocky everywhere. Below the plum tree, there was only soil. It was much easier to dig there. Han Sun only dug a little bit. The soil was harder than steel. It was loose, but it was still difficult to dig up a lot of soil at once. Han Sun put a sprinkle of the soil into his hands to examine it. He discovered that the soil had white dots on it. They were metallic. They looked like metal from a mine. They eventually dug 9 feet deep, when they found something hard. They brushed away the soil around it. They found a root that looked like a sea dragon. The root was as black as ink. It was as if there were scales on it. It looked extremely weird. Upon closer inspection, one thought it looked like a dried snake. The three of them kept digging around the root. Bald Guy kept digging and said, "Be careful. I am unfamiliar with the situation here. Do not dig too deep. It will not be good if you end up digging into an evil spirit spring." More and more roots were dug up. Han-sun and the others noticed there were more roots than there were branches on the plum tree. The roots were like many dragons all tangled up into each other. They were all over the place. They covered an area of at least 30 feet. They were much wider than the tree branches too. Han-sun and the others had to widen their region of digging. They ended up digging 90 feet away, before reaching the end of the roots. They followed the roots and kept digging down. Lots of tree roots were layered on top of each other like a lattice fence outside a house. Bald Guy was hastily digging into it. He used his shovel to dig into a tree root that was only the size of a finger, but he did not even leave a white scrape on it. It's a very hard tree root. Bald Guy was shocked. His body combined with a very powerful king-class gene race. The shovel was very unique as well. Despite trying like that, no marks were left on the tree's roots. Han-sen's curiosity had been completely snagged. As he kept digging, he said, "This plum tree is so weird. Whatever is down there must be unique. We should keep digging." The three of them were digging for half the day before they reached a depth of about 90 feet. One of the plum tree's 3 roots was visible. From what they saw, the big beard of roots looked slightly like a ball. It covered the entire area and did not allow the wind to affect Bald Guy. Put down his shovel and wiped the sweat from his brow as he said, "Stop digging. I do not think there is anything down further. The good stuff is inside the roots of the tree." The metal, ore-like soil was too hard to dig. Although he had the power to combine with a gene race, it was still very tiring for him to dig for so long. Han-sun and Li Bingyu agreed with Bald Guy's assessment. They had dug a hole that was 90 feet deep. If the gene egg was deep inside, some weird scene should have been playing by now. Nothing of the sort was going on. There was an 80 to 90% chance that nothing more would happen if they went deeper. If there was something good to retrieve, it had to be lurking within the roots. The plum tree's roots did not grow normally. They crossed each other to form a wall. It was as if they were all protecting something. Bald Guy used his shovel to dig around. He could not leave a mark on the roots, so he looked to Han-sun. "Old Han, are you able to break any of these roots to see what lies inside?" "Ghost kill, you give it a go," Han-sun said to Li Bingyu. Li Bingyu did not object. After all, she was as interested in the plum tree as the others. Her body generated a flame and cat ears. Her back sprouted a cat tail. Her fingernails extended like 5 lethal blades. They were burning with flames. "I have an adult god-class fire god claw cat," Li Bingyu said. "Its fire element is very effective against creatures that are a wood element. Perhaps it will work." She then put her claws into the tree roots. Her nails displayed some fire blades. She slashed the tree roots. Sparks flew everywhere, but the tree roots weren't cut off. They also did not burn. Li Bingyu's hands shook. The flames on the nails were shaking. It looked like she had been shaken a lot. "It's very hard." Li Bingyu frowned. She really wanted to summon her strongest gene race to test it, but that would expose who she truly was. So she denied that thought. Han-sun used his hands to touch where Li Bingyu slashed. 3 light marks had been created on the surface, but they were still quite difficult to make out. The fire god Clawcat's power was effective, but not by much. Without hesitation, Han-sun spread his giant, gold peacock wings. The gold god light wings flickered. It made the gold wings become a set of extremely sharp blades. Catcha! Cracking sounds penetrated their ears. Bald Guy was very happy. He looked at the tree roots. He saw a dozen roots had been cut half a foot, but they were not completely severed yet. Han-sun was shocked. Li Bingyu and Bald Guy might not have known, but he did. Along with his power, the mutant ultimate mode god-class gene race could only cut half a foot deep. The tree roots were scarily strong. But if he was able to damage the tree roots, it was only a matter of time before he cut his way deeper. Han-sun kept using the gold god wings. The peacock's wings continuously flashed. The gold light was flashing everywhere as he kept slicing the tree's roots. After a few times of doing that, many of the tree roots had been cut off. It revealed the shadow on the inside. Looking in from the hole he had made, the tree roots were wrapped around ice. It gave them all an instant chill. The 3 of them looked at the ice. There was a white-clothed woman frozen within the ice. The white-clothed woman sat inside the ice without moving. She did not look dead. It looked more like she was asleep. Han Sen was shocked, but he was not shocked about there being a woman inside the ice. He was shocked about the presence the ice released. Jade skin. No, it is the Cold Sutra. Han Sen thought this was weird. When he touched the ice, he almost screamed aloud. Chapter 31:21 Moon God Han Sen practiced Jade Skin. It came from Moon God's Cold Sutra legacy. In the Alliance and the Geno universe, it was related to the Cold Sutra. Han Sen was never entirely sure about the true creator of the Cold Sutra. He believed it was just some character called Moon God. As to what class or race Moon God was, or perhaps even if it was a god spirit, Han Sen simply had no idea. In the universe of kingdoms, there was a power that was similar to Jade Skin. Aside from the Cold Sutra, Han Sen could not come up with any other idea as to where this had come from. It was different from pure ice power. The power of the Cold Sutra was not purely based on the cold. The cold was surface deep. The core of the Cold Sutra was a Geno art that could purify one's body to reinforce genes and perfect a body, allowing a person to reach a zenith of performance where one had no flaws. But he was in the universe of kingdoms. To the Alliance, it was considered an anti-material world. The Cold Sutra, by all accounts, should not have been able to work there. But the coldness ahead of them was collected by the Cold Sutra, and it was not restricted by the world. It made Han Sen quite curious. He looked at the woman who was encased in ice. He was not able to see anything clearly because of the thick layer of ice. Guessing from her shape, Han Sen sensed that she was a beautiful woman he had never seen before. No, this is not the Cold Sutra. Han Sen touched the ice. He felt the power on its surface and did not think that was right. Although it was very similar, he sensed something different when he felt it. Bald Guy looked at the woman inside the ice and excitedly said, "I am going to be rich. What is inside cannot be a pretty, humanoid gene race. Don't you guys dare fight for it. I want this pretty humanoid gene race. I can pay you your share." Li Bingyu coldly asked, "Are you crazy? Does this ice look like a gene race? Ice snakes and many ice gene eggs use ice for a shell. Perhaps this humanoid gene race does the same." Bald Guy looked at the woman encased in ice with saliva drooling from his mouth. It was not as if he had never seen a beautiful woman before. It was just that humanoid gene races were extremely rare. Li Bingyu said, "If I were you, I would not be so optimistic." Bald Guy wished to say something, but he soon saw the ice start to melt due to the exposure to light. Cold air arose from the thaw, creating a white fog. "Careful," Li Bingyu said as she retreated. She seemed to be afraid of the cold air. Han Sen fell back too. He pulled Bald Guy away. He knew the Cold Sutra was powerful, and that ice would not just possess cold air. Bald Guy fell back a little slower. The cold air touched his sleeve, which was instantly crystallized. Bald Guy ripped it off. It turned into shattered crystals scattered across the ground. Bald Guy was in shock. He did not hesitate any longer. He hurried to retreat and escape the area. He witnessed the tree roots develop a white, cold fog that wrapped the entire plum tree. When there was light all around, it shone like a rainbow. When the cold air arose, the plum tree's petals started to die. Many of the pink petals surfed the cold air. It was weirdly pretty. It was like a showering of flowers in reverse. In between all the flower rain, the voice of a woman was very vaguely heard within the cold. Thousands of nights filled with a feeling of emptiness and hatred. I would rather be drunk and not wake up. That woman is alive. Bald Guy's eyes opened wide as he peered into the mist. He saw a white shadow approaching. When she heard the woman's voice, Li Bingyu's face morphed. "Oh no. She is the Qin Kingdom's night god No Moon. Run." Han Sen and Bald Guy were shocked. They had never heard of night god No Moon before. After hearing Li Bingyu's shout, they knew this must have been a powerful adversary. They were going to follow Li Bingyu and retreat, but they heard the woman quietly say, "I can't believe someone can still recall my name." While she spoke, the woman emerged from the cold fog. It was the white-clothed woman who had previously been encased in ice. Her bare feet touched the ground. A scary cold light flashed with each step. It turned everything around into ice. Li Bingyu tore through space to escape. She was frozen in the air. Bald Guy's mouth was wide open, as were his eyes. He turned into an ice statue. Han Sen's body flashed with gold light, but he was restricted by the ice light. He was unable to leave. He had cold air all over him. Fortunately, his body was resistant to it. He had already practiced something similar to jade skin. If he had not, even with the gold-winged Peacock King, he would have been reduced to an ice cube. Have you practiced the Cold Sutra? The white-clothed woman asked as she looked upon Han Sen with shock. She observed him closely. Han Sen looked at the white-clothed woman and asked, "Have you practiced the Cold Sutra too? Who are you?" The white-clothed woman did not answer. Her feet were light. She was like a fairy from the outer sky as she landed in front of Han Senator. She pointed her fingers at Han Sen's eyebrows. The way she moved was elegant, but it still made Han Sen develop goosebumps. It was like some wild flood or a crazy tiger was looking at him. He flapped his gold god wings, generating gold light. A gold light feather formed behind Han Senator. A sky full of feathers went flying toward the white-clothed woman. The gold peacock feathers flying through the air were frozen mid-flight. Han Sen was flying extremely fast. Since the scary, cold light froze the wings on his back, his airborne travel was slowed down a lot. The woman's body did not change. Her jade fingers were still pointing at Han Sen's eyebrows the same way. She was coming closer. Han Sen looked very glum. The woman's Cold Sutra expertise was frighteningly strong. It was stronger than Han Sen fathomed it could be. Even the ultimate gold-winged Peacock King could not fight against it. Boom. In the next second, Han Sen was forced to tear through the restrictions of space. A scary power exploded through him. At the same time, he cast his jade skin and pointed toward the woman's finger. Two fingers collided against each other in the air. Two scary powers hit against each other. The ice, jade air did not create a scary explosion. It did not make a sound or a sonic wave. It was like the two powers melted each other and disappeared. "You come from another world," the woman said to Han Sen with shock. "Who are you?" Han Sen's vision was like a knife. He looked at the woman in front of him. His full power attack had only been able to even out against that woman, so she was a terrifyingly strong person. Plus, Han Sen was now able to confirm that the woman's Cold Sutra had a problem. Her power could not really be counted as the Cold Sutra anymore. It was just like the Xian Yellow Sutra. It was the Cold Sutra in reverse. So it counterattacked his jade skin. When the two powers hit each other, they canceled each other out. "If you learn the Cold Sutra, you should know of the witch race and moon god," the white-clothed woman coldly said. Chapter 31-22 Lawbreaker. Are you really the creator of the Cold Sutra? Are you moon god? Hang on. Did you mention the witch? That must mean you are from the Geno universe. Wait, no. That can't be it because you aren't restricted by the powers of this world. Han Sen looked at the white-clothed woman in shock. His mind was racing for answers. The woman did not answer him. She reached out her hand and pointed at Han Senator this time. Her presence changed. Two different powers were gathering in her fingers. It made the hairs on the back of Han Sen's neck stand. Han Sen saw with clarity that Night God No Moon was able to cast the Cold Sutra and the Reverse Cold Sutra at the same time. Those two powers were able to manifest as one. It was an extremely scary thing to witness. It was some scary power that even frightened Han Senator suddenly. Han Sen's body was floating. He was glowing with white light. All his power was corroded by the white light. He entered Super God Spirit mode and threw a punch at Night God No Moon's jade finger. Scary power shook Night God No Moon back, but Han Sen's fist felt a coldness that struck his bones. He lowered his head and discovered that his fist had a wound after being stricken with frosty air. Although it did not damage his bones, it still gave Han Sen a bit of a shock. While he entered Super God Spirit mode, he was still injured. Night God No Moon's power was not any worse than Qin Xiao. She might have even been greater. Huh. What is the power that you have? It can block my break world power. Night God No Moon looked just as surprised. Han Sen wished to say something, but he felt the space around him was moving quickly. A scary presence was coming. That annoying guy is here. Let's go to another place and talk. Night God No Moon put away her presence. She waved her hand. She took the frozen Li Bingyu and bald guy with her. Han Sen knew there was a god spirit on its way, so he put away his power. He put away the gold god wings to follow night god No Moon. The two of them got away. They saw the god spirit approach with a terrifying presence. He looked around and did not locate his target. When he looked at the dead and dried plum tree, his face changed. Oh no! Night god No Moon has appeared. I must go back and tell the mister. Without pausing, the god spirit broke space and departed. He simply disappeared. Night god No Moon landed on an isolated planet. Han Sen followed. She looked at him with interest and said, I can't believe that aside from Qin Xiu, there are other people able to travel between the two worlds. Who are you? I am Han Senator. I am a human. I am a good friend of the witch Han Yufei. If you are one of the witch, how did you end up here? Han Sen name-dropped Han Yufei. Night god No Moon did not answer him. She just asked, was you cold sutra given to you by Han Yufei? No. Han Sen explained how he came to practice jade skin. Night god No Moon nodded. The witch didn't properly inherit it, but you inherited it from Moon God Hall. That means you are technically my student, but you are not one of the witch. Before Han Sen could speak, Night god No Moon said to herself, so what if he isn't one of the witch? Han Sen suddenly thought of something and asked, might I ask if you are still considered one of the witch? Night god No Moon shook her head. I am no longer one of the witch. Moon God is dead. In this life, there is only Night god No Moon. Han Sen suddenly understood what Night god No Moon was saying. He looked at her strangely and said, does this mean that when you were reborn, you maintained the memories of your past life? Night god No Moon nodded and said, yes, although I was unable to crack reincarnation in my past life, I am not like ordinary creatures. I still maintain my mark. It works like an extension of my life. Do you know what all of this is about? This reincarnation and the two-world stuff? Han Sen asked. Night god No Moon looked at Han Sen and said, reincarnation and the two worlds are not a simple concept. It is not purely a belief in reincarnation. It is all about the spirit's reincarnation. Only can the spirit reincarnate in these two worlds, and the spirit is pure. It has no memory. It has no emotion. In this life, you are a human. If you die and are reincarnated in another world, everything about you is erased. Only your spirit goes to another world to be reborn, and provide you with another life. That life can be human, but it can also be in a different life form. Regardless, it won't be you anymore. The spirit can reincarnate an infinite number of times, but you cannot. What about God spirits? What about them? Han Sen asked. Night god No Moon was silent a moment before replying. The spirits that exist between these two worlds can reincarnate an infinite number of times. Do you sense something familiar about all of this? Are you talking about a perpetual motion machine? Han Sen had thought about that before. The lives in two worlds reincarnating were like a perpetual motion machine that never stopped. Yes, it is a perpetual motion machine, Night god No Moon said. In fact, we know perpetual motion machines do not exist. The so-called perpetual motion machine theory involves a third party's power. Are you saying that the god spirits are the third party with the power, and they keep the perpetual motion machine running? Han Sen asked. Not exactly. Some part of that assumption is correct. The god spirits restrict something powerful, and they will kill whatever is uncertain to them. That can include Qin Xiu and even me. After saying that, Night god No Moon looked at Han Sr. Your situation confuses me. According to the theory, you are just like Qin Xiu. You are a lawbreaker. You might trigger the perpetual motion machine in this universe, and cause it to lose balance. You might end up destroying it. Back in the day, Qin Xiu entered the Geno universe. If he was not protected by my race, the god spirits would have killed him. After all these methods, it is unknown how many times he almost died. He stayed in the Geno universe. After saying that, Night god No Moon looked at Han Sen strangely. She said, you are obviously a lawbreaker of the universe, but the god spirits have not made you a target. They have enabled you to go wherever you please. You also obviously break the rules of the world. If Qin Xiu behaved like you, the god spirits would have killed him many times over. Maybe it is because my body has the genes of Qinxiu. Therefore, I count as a human in this world. Hansen told her where he came from. I don't think so, Night God No Moon said with certainty. That is surely not the reason. Regardless if some of Qinxiu's genes are in your blood, even if you were Qinxiu's son, breaking the rules the way you do is something no god spirit could allow. I am a human in this world. I only have the marks of my past life. Yet I became a rival of the god spirits. What about you? Do you think it might be because I saved the world once? Hansen asked. Save the world? Which world did you save? Night God No Moon looked at Hansen with profound confusion. Chapter 31-23 Break World Power. Hansen told her about Qinxiu wanting to break the Geno Hall, and that he had fought him. Night God No Moon was shocked after hearing the story. She checked him out in greater detail. After a while she said, having evolved to that level, World King God was beaten by you? Your body and power are weird. Are you saying I did not beat Qinxiu? Did I merely beat his gene race World King God? Hansen was pretty suspicious about the claim, but Night God No Moon appeared to be adamant. That is what it should have happened, Night God No Moon quietly said. At least, that was not all of Qinxiu. He was human, so how could he have had blue blood? Unless he combined with World King God, his blood wouldn't have been blue. If he really did combine with World King God, he would not only have those skills. Hansen nodded. He thought Qinxiu was not as strong as he thought he would have been. After pausing, Night God No Moon shook her head and said, the god spirits have not focused on killing you. This should not be the reason either. Even if you did not defeat World King God, the Geno Hall would not have been destroyed. Why not? Hansen asked with shock. This was the first time he had heard this theory. Night God No Moon asked, do you know why the highest class of god spirits is reboot? No, I don't know. Hansen replied while shaking his head. Night God No Moon looked into space and said, reboot god spirits have the power to reboot. That includes the entire universe. What does that mean? Hansen's expression changed. He had guessed this a little, but he had never been too sure. It was way too scary. Night God No Moon lifted her lips and said, it is just as you said. Let's compare the universe to the computer. A reboot god spirit has the power to restore the system. By doing that, a high price has to be paid. No one knows what happens to the universe after it is rebooted. Perhaps all life is wiped out. Or perhaps some old lives can remain. Maybe it is not that bad. Maybe only the universe's damage is restored but no one is killed. One thing I know for certain is that if you simply destroyed the Geno Hall, you could not defeat a reboot god spirit. After hearing that, Hansen developed a cold sweat. If things were indeed like that, it was way too scary. Night God No Moon laughed and said, don't worry. Even a reboot god spirit cannot pay the price of rebooting. If it is not forced to do so, they will not reboot the universe. Therefore, you helped him defeat World King God. That person in the Geno God Hall must really appreciate your work, but it would not have been the sole reason for letting you be here as a lawbreaker. Then why? Hansen asked with a frown. How am I supposed to know? I am not a reboot god spirit. Night God No Moon rolled her eyes at Han Senator. She suddenly asked, if you know Han Yufei, do you know a man from the witch called Tai Yi? I have seen him and spoken to him, but I would not say we are close, Hansen said. Is he okay? Night God No Moon's eyes shimmered. Her cold face seemed to suddenly melt. Something is going on there. Hansen was smart, so he had noticed something. He was curious about what was going on, but he had to hold it in. He told her about Tai Yi repairing the Metal God Temple and breaking space. Ah, so he is here. He must be coming for. He did not forget me. Night God No Moon looked excited. She had looked like a goddess moments before, but she now looked like a giddy teenage girl. Are you saying Tai Yi came to the universe of kingdoms? Hansen did not believe that. After thinking about it, he thought it might be possible. Only god spirits and god temples existed between the two worlds. Tai Yi had broken space and left after fixing the god temple. Hansen thought the Metal God Temple would go to the Geno God Hall. From what he understood now, Going to the universe of kingdoms was a more likely possibility. I am going to go find him. Night god No Moon no longer cared about Han's senator. She readied herself to leave. Hey, don't go yet. Let's chat some more. Don't you want to chat for another minute? Hansen wanted to slap his mouth. He should not have mentioned Tai Yi. Now, Night god No Moon leaving while he had many questions to ask. As a reward for telling me about Tai Yi, this is for you. It should help you. Night god No Moon's voice echoed from space. A jade bracelet suddenly fell from the sky. It flew in front of Han's senator. He grabbed it. A wry smile appeared on his face. He saved Night god No Moon from a plum tree. She had not thanked him. Since he mentioned something about Tai Yi, she was now thanking him. She was a very strange character. Hansen examined the jade bracelet he had been given. It was like a white jade crystal, but it did not really look like jade. It was unknown what sort of material it was made of. Hansen sent some of his power into the jade bracelet. It started to move. A mysterious message was going toward Han's senator. His mind was suddenly imbued with a lot of information. The normal and reversed versions of the Cold Sutra. Hansen was shocked. The contents inside the jade bracelet were the original Cold Sutra. This was the Two Worlds version. That wasn't the most important part. In the end, there was a method to combine the two Geno arts. Night god No Moon called this power the Break World power. When she had arrived in the universe of kingdoms, she discovered her inability to make use of Geno arts. Therefore, she invented the reverse Cold Sutra. When it achieved a certain level, she suddenly thought about breaking the restrictions of the world. She discovered that when she cast a combination of the normal and reverse Cold Sutra, there was a power cast. The Break World power could kill a god spirit, but it was very annoying to practice. Because the bodies of the people of the universe of kingdoms were not ideal for practicing, and the rules there did not really allow humans to practice, he wanted to practice the Cold Sutra. To do that, he had to find a suitable gene race. After he combined with a gene race, he could practice the Cold Sutra that had been reversed. Because of that, the gene race determined how powerful the Cold Sutra could be. So he had to find a top-class gene race that was well-versed in the same element. Night god No Moon used a gene race. It was a very rare Een God Lady. She had leveled up the Een God Lady to ultimate mode. Therefore, her reverse Cold Sutra was almost as good as Cold Sutra. If things are like that, how can I practice the Blood Pool Sutra and Xian Yellow Sutra? Hansen was confused. After thinking about it, he understood. His body had the blue blood genes of the World King God, which was a gene race that came from the anti-material world. Hansen thought, if ordinary and reverse Cold Sutras can produce the Break World power, then my normal and reverse Blood Pulse Sutra should be able to do it too. There is no way Night god No Moon can do it and I can't. Chapter 31:24 Ghost Starlight Land. Although he had the reverse version of the Cold Sutra, Hansen did not combine with a gene race for the Cold Sutra. Therefore, he could not practice it. If the Cold Sutra and Blood Pulse Sutra can be reversed, will I be able to reverse the story of genes and Dongxian Sutra? Hansen wondered. At this time, Hansen did not have the time to do that. He needed gene races. It wasn't just the Caste God Court that required gene races. If he wanted to reverse Geno arts, he needed gene races. If Gold Crystal System has a rare gene race, that would be awesome. With Caste Gold Court's method of making a rare gene race breakthrough, I wonder how strong it might be if it could be combined with a reverse Geno art? Hansen could not help but let his imagination run wild. Even if the Gold Crystal System had a rare gene race, there was no guarantee he could find one. If I can beat the Big Sky Demon to an egg, perhaps it will go well with the reverse Cold Sutra. Hansen thought about the Big Sky Demon. The Big Sky Demon was too ghostly. She was always coming and going. Hansen never knew where she was. The chance of turning the Big Sky Demon into an egg was lower than digging up a god pulse. Li Bingyu and Bald Guy were still encased in ice. Hansen used Jade Skin to remove the Cold Sutra's power on them. They woke up. When Bald Guy came to, he was shocked. He asked, "Who was that woman? She was so scary." Fortunately you were here, Han Senator. If you weren't here, it would have ended up very poorly for us. Did you kill her? I am not her enemy, Han Sun said with a shrug of his shoulders. She ran off. Night God No Moon had two sets of memories. In each life, she had reached the top of the world. She had combined ordinary and reverse powers into break world power. To achieve that, two universes were required. It would have been hard to find a creature stronger than her. Even you could not beat her? Bald Guy was shocked. His neck shivered. Li Bingyu looked at Han Sun strangely. Han Sun and Bald Guy did not know who Night God No Moon was, but she did. It was a legend just below Qin Xiu, but Night God No Moon was not as famous as Qin Xiu. That was because Night God No Moon had not become the Qin Kingdom's king. She was merely a teacher. In the Qin Kingdom, there were a few women grand teachers. Night God No Moon was one who was not as famous. Thus, she had not appeared to be too special. In Night God No Moon's era, the Qin Kingdom had turned to a system of law. The king then was called the Alpha King. He was the first king. Li Bingyu had seen the records of Wu Wei Dao Palace. She read a classified file about Night God No Moon. That woman teacher was the one who started the changes in the Qin Kingdom. She was integral to the process of the waning kingdom reclaiming its former glory. Back then, Night God No Moon took advantage of Wu Wei Dao Palace. Although it was not as bad as being kicked out of the Qin Kingdom, they were restricted. While Night God No Moon was around, the Wu Wei Dao Palace was unable to do anything in the Qin Kingdom. Night God No Moon basically had used them. Considering a character like that from a legend, and Han Sun turning out just fine, it made sense that Night God No Moon had departed. If it wasn't like that, it would have turned out quite scary. Bald Guy, stop talking. Hurry up and find the land pulse. It is best if we can find a high-class gene race land pulse. Han Sun was impassioned about finding new gene races. Dig. We will be digging, and we have to dig hard. Bald Guy was emboldened. Han Sun had sorted out a scary woman, so Bald Guy did not think there was anything more to be afraid of. Bald Guy had been worried about digging up an extremely scary land pulse, especially one they could not have dealt with. After the last ordeal, Bald Guy knew Han Sun was stronger than he had imagined. Since Han Sun said what he had, there was nothing more to be afraid of. Let's go. We should go deeper into the gold crystal system. This place doesn't seem to have a high chance of getting us a rare gene race. Let's go hunt ourselves something bigger. Bald Guy gnashed his teeth. Han Sun was speechless. If he knew the chances of getting a god-class gene race here were low, why were they even there in the first place? Still, it was fortunate Bald Guy had decided to go there. If they had not stopped there, Han Sun would have missed the chance of encountering Night God No Moon. Bald Guy summoned the God Wind Dragon and took Han Sun and Li Bingyu away from the planet. They went deeper into the gold crystal system. Li Bingyu quickly realized that Bald Guy was rather useful. Earlier, she had not thought highly of him. She had not thought he understood land pulses. It had actually been because he was afraid of going to Ghost Starlight Land. Normally, big land pulses were followed by scary weird scenes. No one could have blamed Bald Guy for not wanting to go. Bald Guy led Han Sun to one of the 7 places. Ghost Starlight Land was one of them. The God Wind Dragon had yet to get close to the planet when they saw a group of flying gene race knights patrolling the outskirts of the planet. They were not letting anyone get close to the planet. Clearly, someone rather important had already laid claim to the zone. When Bald Guy saw them from afar, his face instantly changed. That is Sky King's Skywing Knights. We should just go somewhere else. Han Sun had heard about Sky King before. He was one of the kings who had a different surname. He was one of the ones with authority. He was a highly valuable asset to the Qin Kingdom. Of course, Sky King was famous because he and his people were nobles through heritage. They had an Annihilation class god temple. Every generation was blessed by the Annihilation god spirit. The gold crystal system was massive, so there was no reason for Han Sun to start a rivalry with Sky King. He was just going to follow Bald Guy and leave. They hadn't gone in a new direction for long when they suddenly heard a scary beast sound come from behind. The 3 of them looked back. They saw the planet, which was surrounded by Skywing Knights, burst with light. The gold god light fired into the sky. The planet, which had a rocky terrain, was suddenly turning into an ocean of lava. The entire planet was like a newborn sun. Its temperature was getting higher and higher. The scariest part was that there was a green sprout within the burning lava sea. It was growing large vines amid the fire. It quickly developed into a giant vine that was hundreds of miles long. It was still growing fast. Ordinarily, wood element plants or gene races were afraid of fire, but it was like this giant vine was absorbing fire to grow. The planet was burning, and the vine was growing swiftly. Not long later, it was around 10,000 miles long. It looked like a green monster resting atop lava. The Skywing Knights on that planet came flying away from it. Many of them were melting from the lava's high temperature. Not even their bodies remained intact. The knights able to escape felt relieved. Suddenly, vines from somewhere else shot out of the lava and grabbed them. It was shockingly fast. The vines were like a nest of wild snakes. After wrapping up their bodies, the vines pulled them down into the sea of lava. They cried horridly in the lava sea. Chapter 31-25 Fighting for a blood pulse. Aside from the knights guarding outside the planet, the misters and gene casters that had ventured onto the planet were all dead. It was very scary. The other Skywing Knights were starting to flee. Bald Guy, Han Sun, and Li Bingyu were completely shocked. That planet had become weird and brutal. The many powerful gene casters on it could have teleported away in under a second, yet they had been unable to escape the vines ensnaring them. Once they were pulled into the lava, no matter how strong the gene casters were, they all ended up dead. God Spirit Blood Pulse. That planet must contain a God Spirit Blood Pulse. Bald Guy looked at the planet that now shone like a sun. Are you going to tell me the old vine is a God Spirit Blood Pulse? Han Sun frowned. Of course, that is not a God Spirit Blood Pulse. If I have guessed correctly, the old vine must be the gene race that lives on the planet. When the God Spirit Blood Pulse formed there, the old vine gene race absorbed the land pulse's gene eggs to evolve. The scariest thing about it is that the element suits the God Spirit Blood Pulse. It must have a God Spirit Blood Pulse buff, which is what makes it so terrifying. Bald Guy paused for a moment and then said, "Let's not incite its ire for now. The people from Sky King won't stop, so let them try and find out just how powerful the old vine gene race is." There was something Bald Guy had not said. There was a scary God Spirit Blood Pulse there, and Sky King might end up going there himself. Since Sky King had created so much trouble there, other elites were also likely going to show up. If they were to go for the land pulse now, there was far too much risk. Can you determine the location of that God Spirit Blood Pulse? Han Sun asked as he looked at Bald Guy. He knew Bald Guy's hesitation, but he was thinking differently than Bald Guy. Han Sun thought this was a good opportunity. Since other elites had yet to show up, now was the prime time for him to nab a God Spirit Blood Pulse. Do you want to get a God Spirit Blood Pulse? Bald Guy knew what Han Sun was thinking. Do you know where it is? Han Sun asked for confirmation. Bald Guy gnashed his teeth and said to Han Sun, "If I am correct, the God Spirit Blood Pulse should be at the core. People from Sky King must have just dug the core and triggered the God Spirit Blood Pulse, which immediately wreaked havoc across the planet. If this was a normal situation, we would have to find where they dug. Now we do not have to go to such trouble. The entire planet has become liquid. You just need to be able to withstand the frightening temperature. If you do that and can access the core, you will find the God Spirit Blood Pulse." After pausing, Bald Guy added, "If you do want to fight for it, it is best that you hurry. The God Spirit Blood Pulse has not completely blown up yet. When it does explode, there will be many weird scenes that will shock the world. It will attract countless elites. I am afraid if you get the God Spirit Blood Pulse, you will not be able to escape. Okay. You guys wait somewhere far away. Once I have the God Spirit Blood Pulse, I will come and find you." After saying that, Han Sun flapped his peacock wings. He turned into a gold light and flew toward the planet that looked like a sun. Li Bingyu looked as if she was wrestling with her thoughts. She knew more than Bald Guy. That planet's core had created a very scary God Spirit Blood Pulse. It was unlike any other God Spirit Blood Pulse. A person had to have a very high level of fitness to accept that God Spirit Blood Pulse. Now the planet had another old vine gene race to guard it. Li Bingyu recognized the old vine gene race. In Wu Weidao Palace, it was recorded as a rare ancient gene race called a Sun Spirit Gourd. It was a fire and yang gene race. The Sun Spirit Gourd must have hatched inside the core, because its life cycle was so long. It was unknown how long it had been growing inside the core. It had not shown up above the ground, and no human had been able to detect it before all of this. Because the land's magnetic field had changed, the gold crystal system harbored a super god pulse. That planet had come to look like gold starlight, one of the 7 key points. It created an incredibly scary god spirit blood pulse and many gene eggs. That god spirit blood pulse was a fire element being with Yang the Sun Spirit Gourd, which required 1 billion years to evolve, had absorbed a lot of gene eggs and earned the buff of a god spirit blood pulse. It was an ultimate mode. Thinking about the ultimate mode of the rare Sun Spirit Gourd with its scary god spirit blood pulse buff, it was hard for her to imagine how strong it was. No matter how strong Han Sun was, it would have been hard for anyone to survive wherever the Sun Spirit Gourd inhabited. She was hesitant about telling Han Sun any of that. Han Sun moved too swiftly. He did not give Li Bingyu time to think about her decision. Li Bingyu called after Han Sun, but he did not hear her. He rushed into the sun-like planet. Never mind. With his power, maybe he can emerge from there alive. Li Bingyu said with a sigh. She did not know what to think. Han Sun jumped into the burning hot lava. Rather, it was not considered lava anymore. Due to the high temperature, it had become some sort of weird fluid. Even metal and stone were like crystal clear water. Although the Gold-Winged Peacock King offered protection, Han Sun still felt very hot. Fortunately, his body was strong, and he was not afraid of the heat. He picked a place far away from the old vine to fly. The deeper into the core he went, the hotter it became. To Han Sun, this was no big deal. His eyes shone with a weird gold light. He shot through the scary, high-temperature liquid. His god powers reached 1,000 miles. This was the God-Winged Peacock King's combined gene skill Peacock King Eye. If he did not have that power, Han Sun would not have been able to see any further than 30 feet ahead. While he was flying, a dragon-like shadow started coming toward him from the lava. It was suddenly in front of Han Senator. It was a giant vine bigger than a water tank. It was larger than the old vine outside. Han Sun was ready. He knew the old vine had been created from the core. Whatever was hidden underneath must have been the source of it all. Han Sun did not think about that. The old vine covered the entire core. His gold god wings flapped. Behind Han Sun, the peacock wings shone with gold light. His entire body became a gold light moving toward the vine. Dong. The indestructible gold god wing left a light mark on the old vine. The old vine was still madly going for Han Senator. The gold god wings flapped again. He dodged the old vine's attack. In the next second, a few more vines appeared. They came at him from several different directions. The vines were like dragons. They were like sea dragons. Han Sun was like a flying peacock. He flew elegantly and fast. He dodged one old vine while another old vine tried to stop him. He went straight toward the core. Although many Geno arts were not available for him to use, he was very good at judgment and formation. These were talents that could be used anytime. Amid the countless numbers of vines trying to strike him down, he was still able to swiftly make his way to the core. He was almost unstoppable. Chapter 31-26 Sun Spirit Gourd. The core was terrifying and hot. Han Sun saw that the scary old vine had wreathed itself around the core. It created a giant orb-like object that replaced the shell of the core. Many vines were coming out from the vine orb. Like a legion of dragons, they came at Han Senator. They made Han Sun accelerate his movements to avoid being struck. Han Sun used the Peacock King Eye at its maximum potential. He looked through the vines and saw a glimpse of what might have lain inside. The high-temperature liquid inside had turned white. They were more like crystal. Within that liquid, Han Sun saw a weird fish that appeared to be sleeping. That fish looked white. It looked as if it was real, but it also looked as if it wasn't real. From the outside, the fish looked like an eel, but its body was longer than 3,000 feet. It was within the sphere of vines. Its life force was active. It looked as if it was on the brink of waking up. Hansen felt a very scary flame power arise from the fish's body. Within its god spirit presence, it was without a doubt a god spirit blood pulse that had been born inside the scary land pulse. Hansen wanted to rush in there, but he noticed the vine orb had more than just a white fish. A gourd was hanging between the vines and above the fish's head. That gourd was about half the size of an average person. It was snow white like a crystal. It was hanging right above the fish's head. It looked like a small gourd pendant. When Hansen had a closer look, he was hit by a wave of pending danger. He felt as if that gourd was far more intimidating than the god spirit blood pulse fish. What Hansen thought was even more strange, though, was that the gourd, which had no eyes, appeared to be staring at him. It certainly weirded him out. Hansen kept dodging the attacks of the vines while examining what he could see. Within the giant, old vine was that gourd. The gourd seemed to be absorbing the power of the god spirit blood pulse fish. A light came out from where the gourd touched the fish's head and melted into the gourd. That thing is absorbing a god spirit blood pulse. Hansen stopped hesitating. He found an opening and rushed toward the sphere of vines. A gene race that had evolved to that level could not be tamed. Letting it absorb all the god spirit blood pulse was a waste. Hansen did not enter the vine orb yet. He suddenly saw the gourd release a scary white flame. The entire gourd shone like a sun. Pang! Light shone on Hansen's body was. It felt as if his body was inside a sun stove. Even with the strength of his body and the power of the gold-winged peacock king's power, he could not block the effects of that heat. The feathers of the peacock wings on his back smoldered. His hair was singed. His blonde hair erupted in flames. His eyebrows and eyelashes were burning. Hansen suddenly broke the rules of the world. He was forced to use power to wipe the flames off his body and quickly fly back. The fire the gourd had shot out was too scary. It was probably at the same level as an annihilation god spirit. Just one flame was as good as moment god. If there had been no restriction on his power by the rules that governed that world, Hansen should have been able to withstand what the gourd threw at him. Now he was in shackles. If he needed to use all of his power, he could only do so for a short amount of time. He had to face the prospect that he might not be able to take on the gourd. He did not dare break the rules of the world either. Hansen used his power and stopped it. After leaving the vine orb, he used the power of his gold-winged peacock king to break the lava and fly. Hansen did not plan on giving up though. He circled the vine ball and flew fast. He wanted to find the gourd's weak point so he could potentially kill it with one hit. That thing was very scary. Even if Hansen used his Xian Yellow Sutra, he did not have the confidence he could turn it into an egg. Still, he was going to try his best. Before Hansen did anything, he saw the lava suddenly erupt with big movement. The scary body of a human broke the high-temperature liquid and arrived. It was near the orb of vines. Hansen looked over and saw a strong elder wearing black and white armor. Behind him, there was a halo that looked like yin and yang. It was spinning. It was like some god's god light. The yin and yang Tai Chi light spun. Countless vines headed toward him. The old man did nothing. The vines were pushed back by the yin and yang Tai Chi light. Is he Sky King? Hansen was able to guess who the person likely might have been. Sky King had inherited an annihilation god spirit blood pulse. The annihilation god spirit was Sky God. Legends claimed he was a god spirit who controlled the sky and ground. He had yin and yang, which were two air powers. Now Sky King had combined with Sky God. He had an annihilation god spirit power, or perhaps something even stronger. After all, Sky King had accepted an annihilation god spirit's power, and combined with a gene race's power a long time ago. So he must have had many exclusive gene races by now. Sky King could not be too good with eye powers. He did not see Hansen from a distance. He went straight to the vine orb. He must have gone there for the god spirit blood pulse. Let him fight first. I want to see what the gourd's powers can do. Hansen's heart jumped. He gave up trying to steal the god spirit blood pulse for now. He used his Peacock King eye to observe the scene. Sky King was extremely strong. He immediately reached the point where Hansen had been. The gourd released light that was like a sun. Sky King coldly grunted, but the yin and yang Tai Chi light covered his body. The fire was unable to break the shield of the two heirs, Yin and Yang. Seeing Sky King rush into the sphere of vines, the gourd mutated. A scary white light flame exploded. It turned into a 3-foot gold sunbird that roared at Sky King. Sky King's face looked very serious. He punched the 3-foot gold sunbird. It released god light like a sun. His strong yang power was no weaker than the gourd. Pang! The 3-foot gold sunbird was blown up by Sky King's gene combined skill, Sun God Punch, but the punching light of Sun God Punch exploded too. In the next second, the sun-like gourd had many 3-foot gold sunbirds come flying out. They had sun god flames that fired into the sky. To Sky King, they had turned into a scary flock of crows. Sky King was like a reborn battle god. He kept throwing out sun god punches. He blew up many of the 3-foot gold sunbirds. He was still able to slay amidst that flock. He was surrounded by a flock of birds. Sky King could not get to the god spirit bloodpulse fish. Sky King also seemed to be afraid of something. He did not delay for too long. Suddenly, his hands glowed with a god light. One hand was like a sun in the air, and one hand was like a moon lighting up the ground. His fists punched each other to create a scary black hole that sucked all the lava and 3-foot gold sunbirds into it. The 3-foot gold sunbirds could not fight back. They were swiftly consumed by the black hole. Sky King used this window of opportunity. Like a bolt of lightning, he hurried to the orb of vines. He was going straight for the god spirit bloodpulse fish. Chapter 31:27 Flying Fish. Sky King's black hole consumed everything in its path. The sun spirit gourd expelled a surge of the 3-foot sunbirds, but they were all quickly consumed by the black hole. It was futile for it to even try. Sky King rushed in front of the sun spirit gourd, which looked like it was going to be swallowed by the black hole. The god spirit bloodpulse fish's eyes below the sun spirit gourd suddenly opened. They burned with a white flame. Suddenly the entire world went white. Not even the Peacock King's eye enabled vision through that white light. No one was able to see what was happening. The god spirit bloodpulse spirit fish exploded with light. It came and went fast. The light suddenly started to dim. Hansen quickly used his Peacock King eye skill to see. The god spirit bloodpulse fish had vanished, but the sun spirit gourd's body was still burning with a white flame. It incinerated everything around into nothing. Even Sky King's black hole, which was getting close to the gourd, was burned by the white flames. Sky King's expression changed. He pushed the black hole to keep attacking the gourd. No matter how terrifying the black hole appeared, it was burned into nothing once it got close to the gourd. It was unable to consume the gourd. Catcha! There was a crunching noise. The gourd had a crack. Upon seeing that, Sky King was happy. Clearly, the gourd was unable to endure his suppression powers. He raged on and produced more black holes to fight against the gourd. Hansen was not feeling as good about it as Sky King. The gourd breaking did not mean it had failed to withstand the pressure. He thought that perhaps something else was emerging. He recalled having had such a feeling before. He remembered how it had seemed like there were eyes inside the gourd looking at him. He did not believe it was just the mere presence and aura of the gourd. Perhaps the gourd was just a shell harboring something else. Perhaps what resided inside the shell was the true nemesis that had to be contended with. Plus, Hansen had witnessed Bauer being born from a gourd. Whenever he saw a gourd, he tended to feel as if there was something inside it. Sky King was different. He had never seen life emerge from a gourd. He thought that cracks appearing in the gourd meant it was a gene race he was on the verge of killing, so he did not stop. He kept pumping power into the gourd. The gourd developed more cracks. It looked as if it would be unable to endure much more pressure, and was sure to break. Hansen did not feel safe and retreated. The gourd consumed the god spirit bloodpulse. According to the Caste God Quartz theory, the gourd must have reached ultimate mode. If it was going any further, it might evolve into a scary life level. Although it was a gene race, it might become a wild god spirit. Of course, this was Caste God Quartz method. It required other people to achieve. Hansen did not know if a wild gene race could accomplish this life level change. Boom! The gourd finally exploded. The snow-white shell, which looked like jade, was obliterated into pieces. It quickly melted into the white fire. It was suddenly reduced to nothing. The expressions of Han Sun and Sky King changed. There was a weird creature amidst the exploded gourd. The creature looked like an eel, but it had wings. It was like a fish and a bird combined, but it was not like the little red bird that could change into a fish or a bird at will. This was a bird and a fish at the same time. It was better to call it a flying fish. When the flying fish emerged, its eyes peered at Sky King. It opened its mouth and cast a frightening amount of white fire. Sky King looked glum. One of his hands clutched Een, and while the other hand grabbed Yang. He stuck them together to create a giant black hole. He flew at the flying fish with fire power that did not look very powerful. Chilla. The white flame perforated the black hole. It went into Sky King's hand. Sky King's expression changed. The flying fish quickly broke the high-temperature liquid. Its body was glowing with a cold light. It was like a strong current heading for his armor. The white flame wasn't put out. It just would not go out. It spread onto his gauntlets. Sky King was shocked. He did not bother to think. He cast away his ravaged gauntlet to ease the pain of his burning hand. The flaming flying fish did not want to let him go. It flapped its wings and followed him, spewing more storms of fire. Sky King still wanted to kill the gene race. Even without a god spirit blood pulse, that powerful gene race was a good ingredient for a sacrifice. Now he wasn't so sure. He did not know what sort of gene race he had combined with, but he had thunder wings. He flapped them and flew away. The flying fish was faster than him. Han Sun heard a scream. Sky King's ass was on fire. It looked as if he was doing poorly. Sky King kept running and throwing away parts of his armor. He did not have the courage to return and resume a fight like that. Han Sun hurriedly flapped his wings and flew up. He saw Sky King get chased by the flying fish as his armor burned. He kept taking off parts of his armor and tossing them aside. He was actually willing to abandon the armor. Both Sky King and the flying fish were very fast. They were so fast that it was like they were teleporting. They raced off of the planet and into space. Han Sun tried his hardest to catch up, but the lead they had over him gradually increased. Seeing he was going to lose them both, Han Sun had to break the rules of the sky and use galaxy teleportation to get closer to them and not lose them. A normal people's vision was unable to witness their movements. They could not see Sky King and the flying fish, but Han Sun could. The Qin Kingdom's king with different surnamed, an existence who shocked the universe, was being chased by a flying fish. He was chased all the way from the ground and into space. His hair was messed up. He looked terrible. Sky King used all kinds of scary gene combination skills to try and stop the flying fish's pursuit. Everything he tried was in vain. Nothing worked. The flames were terrifying. At such an extreme level, they charred everything into nothing. Everything around was easily ignited. If one touched it, one could not put it out. Everything that came into contact with the flames was roasted. Sky King carelessly let his hair catch on fire. Without hesitation, he cut off his white hair. He did not want the fire to touch his head. This flying fish is against the sky. Han Sun was shocked. The unstoppable flames and scary speed were something an annihilation god spirit was unable to defeat. This god spirit blood pulse must be annihilation class. If it wasn't, the flying fish would not be that powerful. Although Han Sun wanted to turn the flying fish into an egg, he calculated that if he broke the rules of the world to fight, he might not be able to accomplish that goal. Sky King was chased on the ground and into space. It was unknown how many Geno armaments were burned, but he did not dare let the flame touch his body. He felt very sad about the losses, but he had no choice. In the end, without his Geno armaments, he would summon a gene race to take the damage for him if he could not evade the fire. Han Sun would have felt bad for him if he had to see God-class gene races burn to dust. Chapter 31-28 Sky King managed to escape the gold crystal system, but the flying fish did not relent its pursuit of him. It looked like it really hated Sky King, and would not stop until its enemy was burned to death. Han Sun had to fly to follow them. He wanted to find a way to deal with the flying fish. He had to confess that Sky King really was the most powerful person in the Qin kingdom. His family was huge and he had money. All the high-class gene races he had did not appear to be valued too highly since he used them all to save his skin. Of course, if Sky King wasn't as powerful as he was, he would have been unable to do what he was doing to survive. Suddenly, Han Sen thought something had to be wrong. He looked at the map and understood. This Sky King really is a very powerful character. Han Sen guessed that Sky King was going to draw the enemy to another place. He was going toward the border between the Han Kingdom and the Qin Kingdom. He was obviously leading it to unleash carnage in another place. Han Sen's guess was right. When he reached the border between the two kingdoms, he went to a planet in the Han Kingdom. Sky King fearlessly entered the planet. While he was in the Qin Kingdom, he never once dared do that. While he was escaping, he avoided all the planets that contained life. The Qin Kingdom is in the wrong this time. Han Sen had to admit ginger became spicier the more it matured. Sky King had a big disadvantage. He wanted to get some interest from the Han Kingdom. Han Sen did not need to guess what he was doing. Sky King and the Han Kingdom's relationship must not have been good. This might have even sparked a conflict. Otherwise, he would not have brought the flying fish all the way there. If he really was leading it elsewhere, going to the Wei Kingdom would have been closer. Yet he went to that very faraway planet within the Han Kingdom. Obviously, he was prepared. The flying fish chased Sky King to the planet. Wherever he went there was a big city. It made Han Sen sigh. With the flying fish's power, if there was no top-class elite fighting it, the planets might end up being destroyed. Han Sen was surprised. When the flying fish breached the cities, it did not produce the scene of a city burning badly. It was quiet. Nothing seemed to happen. Han Sen thought the flying fish had not done anything. After a while, it still had yet to do something. There were no fires in the sky. Weird. What is going on? Did Sky King set up a trap to catch the flying fish? Han Sen thought the probability of that happening was next to nil. Still, not knowing what was going on, he inched his way closer to the planet to find out what was happening. He did not get too close. His Peacock King's eye skills were better than a satellite. Han Sen's vision flashed. He was now able to clearly see what was happening down there. Sky King looked like a very broken, poor and dirty hobo. He was standing on the street like a statue, not daring to move. His face was gray, and his body was covered with scorch marks. His hair was ragged. His clothes were full of holes. No one would have been able to guess that was Sky King. If it was known who he was, people would have been laughing to death. Even so, many people on the streets discussed his identity. Sky King was not moving a single inch. He did not care for the laughing and whispering. He stared ahead, not moving an inch. A cold drop of sweat fell from his forehead. The flying fish was just 1 foot away from Sky King. The fish stared at Sky King, but it did not immediately incinerate him with fire. The flying fish was being held by a little, white hand. When Han Sen saw the master of the little, white hand, his eyes almost popped out of their sockets. He could not help but scream, "Bower! Why is she here?" Sky King's forehead kept developing a cold sweat. Seeing the flying fish and the little girl, he felt extremely strange. Still, he could not move. He really was trying to do what Han Sen believed. He had lured it there. He wanted the flying fish to harm the Han Kingdom, so he landed directly in the city. The flying fish caught up. When it landed in the city, it did not spit out fire and force the defenses of the planet to hopelessly try and fight back. The flying fish landed on a little girl. The most surprising thing about this was that the little girl reached out her hand to hold the flying fish as if she was holding a doll. Even more surprising was that the flying fish did not attempt to fight back. It allowed the little girl to hold on to it, and used its head to rub the little girl's hand. Sky King's entire body was frozen stiff. It would have only taken a second for the flying fish to teleport in front of him and lock him down. The distance between them was very close, yet neither the flying fish nor Sky King moved. Otherwise, if Sky King revealed his flaws, the flying fish might have killed him. Since the flying fish did not produce flames to harm the city, the planet's defenses weren't activated. Sky King's plan had failed. Sky King looked at the little girl approaching with the flying fish in hand. She touched the flying fish's head as if she was petting a cat or a dog. His eyes could not help but twitch at the sight. He had never seen anything like this happen. Such a terrifying gene race was willing to adhere to a little girl. Things like that had never happened. Even the leaders of the 7 kingdoms could not do something like that. It wasn't just the leaders. Even if the elders of the kings were there, the scary flying fish would spray their faces. Who is this little girl? Sky King strangely looked at the little girl. He forced a smile and asked, "Little girl, why don't you tell the flying fish to go away? I will give you some money to buy candy." The flying fish was being held by the little girl, but it was still hungry for him. If he revealed a flaw, it would kill him. Sky King did not dare move. He wanted to treat the little girl well, so she would take the flying fish away. He would have them been free. What is money? The little girl, who was holding the flying fish, looked at Sky King with confusion. Money is. It's something you can use to buy candy. Sky King suddenly noticed he could not explain to the little girl what money was. What is candy? The little girl still looked confused. Sky King thought it was weird that the little girl did not know what candy was. Upon looking at the little girl's innocent face, it did not look as if she was lying. That candy is something very sweet that you can eat, Sky King tried to explain. Really? In that case, give me some candy, and I will try it. The little girl looked at Sky King with excitement. I do not have candy on me, but I can give you money to buy a lot of candy, Sky King said. Bring it out, the little girl said, reaching out her hand. Sky King thought this was difficult. He did not have money on him. Even if he did, it would all have been burned. He did not dare move either. The flying fish was looking at him. Little kid, put the flying fish away, Sky King said, with a look of genuine fear. I am scared of it. I cannot give you the money right now. If ordinary people saw Sky King acting like this, they would not have believed it. This was the overbearing Sky King. The little fish is so cute, the little girl said. Why are you afraid of it? She lifted the flying fish in front of Sky King, whose mouth was 1 foot away from it. Sky King's legs went soft. He started to shake. Cold sweat soaked his tattered clothes. Chapter 31:29 Teach him to be a person. Little girl, do not joke around with me. I will have you know that I am old and cannot be scared like this, lest it bodes poorly for my health. I think it would be best if you move with haste. After you have done that, I will happily take you on a trip to buy some candy. Sky King was shocked, but his face still displayed a smile. He had not been this soft in many, many years. I see. In that case, okay, I think I can do that. Bower nodded. She held the flying fish as if she was going to have it retreat. Sky King was delighted. Once the flying fish exited his proximity and the little girl turned around, he could get free of the flying fish's lock on him, break space and escape it. Even if the flying fish caught up, it was going to be hard to lock onto him. He could certainly find a way to escape the pursuit of the flying fish. The feeling of being on the cusp of death for so long was not an easy one to endure. Seeing Bower hold the flying fish and turn around, Sky King's heart felt excited. As the little girl was about to turn around, Sky King gathered up all the power in his body. He was ready to break space and flee. The power in his body almost burst out, but the little girl suddenly turned around. The flying fish got closer to Sky King again. Sky King felt as if he wanted to vomit. He held on to the power, which was almost bursting out. He let himself stay where he was. His face was becoming red. The little girl looked at Sky King with an untrusting expression as she asked, "You are not going to lie to me, are you? Are you going to run away as soon as I turn around?" Sky King had been through many things. Now he could not help but blush. He had planned on doing that, but he was Sky King. He was now going to lie to a little girl. His plan had been exposed. His emotions were very complex. Why would I? I have been very honest. I mean what I say. Sky King immediately explained himself. Yes, but the thing is that adults always lie. They never stop. So how exactly am I supposed to know whether or not you're the same? What if you are lying to me like all the others do? The little girl continued to stare at Sky King untrustingly. Sky King was in a hurry to get out of there, but there was nothing he could do. The flying fish kept staring at him, locked onto his presence. Have you know that I am old and cannot be scared like this, lest it bodes poorly for my health. I think it would be best if you move with haste. After you have done that, I will happily take you on a trip to buy some candy. Sky King was shocked, but his face still displayed a smile. He had not been this soft in many, many years. I see. In that case, okay, I think I can do that. Bower nodded. She held the flying fish, as if she was going to have it retreat. Sky King was delighted. Once the flying fish exited his proximity and the little girl turned around, he could get free of the flying fish's lock on him, break space, and escape it. Even if the flying fish caught up, it was going to be hard to lock onto him. He could certainly find a way to escape the pursuit of the flying fish. The feeling of being on the cusp of death for so long was not an easy one to endure. Seeing Bower hold the flying fish and turn around, Sky King's heart felt excited. As the little girl was about to turn around, Sky King gathered up all the power in his body. He was ready to break space and flee. The power in his body almost burst out, but the little girl suddenly turned around. The flying fish got closer to Sky King again. Sky King felt as if he wanted to vomit. He held on to the power, which was almost bursting out. He let himself stay where he was. His face was becoming red. The little girl looked at Sky King with an untrusting expression as she asked, "You are not going to lie to me, are you? Are you going to run away as soon as I turn around?" No, Sky King had been through many things. Now he could not help but blush. He had planned on doing that, but he was Sky King. He was now going to lie to a little girl. His plan had been exposed. His emotions were very complex. Why would I? I have been very honest. I mean what I say. Sky King immediately explained himself. Yes, but the thing is that adults always lie. They never stop. So how exactly am I supposed to know whether or not you're the same? What if you are lying to me like all the others do? The little girl continued to stare at Sky King untrustingly. Sky King was in a hurry to get out of there, but there was nothing he could do. The flying fish kept staring at him, locked onto his presence. If he did something suspicious, it would launch the scariest attack yet. Sky King did not dare risk inciting that ire. If he did not move, the flying fish could not do anything to him. If he moved, and there was a flaw, he would end up either severely injured or dead. Little girl, I swear I am not lying to you. You should just take that thing away. I will give you lots of money if you do that. I can guarantee you a life of luxury. You will live in wealth and be able to buy many, many fashionable articles of clothing and glam yourself up with eye-blinding jewelry. It had been so long since a woman had put Sky King at a disadvantage. At this point, he was tempted enough to pick up the little girl and run. The little girl examined him a bit closer. She pointed at one of Sky King's items and said, "I do not know what money is, and I do not know how to use it. How about this? I think that looks quite pretty. Why don't you give it to me?" Sky King was clad in a host of tattered clothing. His chest had a lot of burn marks on it, so he could not hide his body. She was able to see the jade-like pendant he was wearing. The jade was circular. It had a Tai Chi symbol that was half white and half black. It was not particularly pretty, but it exuded a sense of mystery and age. Seeing that the little girl wanted his jade pendant, Sky King's expression changed. That jade item was very important. It took him a lot of effort to claim. It was an item he dug up from a scary life pulse. It had the power to suppress a land pulse. He had dared to travel to the core alone, because of that item. In a critical moment, it meant the difference between life and death. That was not the most important facet of the pendant. That jade represented his identity as Sky King. Many of his friends, allies, and even the big nobles of the Qin Kingdom recognized that jade. When they had something classified to do, he simply allowed his men to use the jade. With that jade, people treated a person with great priority. Things like that stood for his identity as Sky King. He could not just give it out to someone random. "Little girl, this is cheap and not worth much," Sky King said with a smile. "Why don't you select something else?" "Yes, mother taught me not to take just any random stuff, especially expensive stuff," the little girl said with seriousness. "Cheap is good. I will take it." Didn't your mother teach you not to take a random person's things? Sky King could not help but fight back. Yes, but my dad told me I should take advantage of stupid people, the little girl said with a laugh. I always have to balance who I listen to between my mother and my father. Sky King almost coughed up blood. He swore in his heart. Who is this asshole father of hers? How could he teach his child to behave like that? Damn it. Old uncle, are you going to lie to me? Are you not going to give it to me? The little girl looked at Sky King with confusion. Sky King gnashed his teeth and looked stiff as he laughed. How could I do such a thing? This thing is not worth much. If you like it, I will happily give it to you. But first you need to. Before Sky King finished, the little girl merrily proclaimed, Thank you, old uncle. You are such a nice person. After that, the little girl let go of the flying fish. It went behind Sky King and jumped on his back. It took the necklace off of his body. Sky King's eyes were twitching, but he did not move. He let the little girl take the necklace away. The little girl received the jade and proceeded to wear it around her neck. She looked at Sky King, waved the jade and said, Old uncle, does it look good on me? It looks good. It looks very good. You are so beautiful. You would look beautiful no matter what you were wearing. It had been so long since Sky King had last complimented someone in such a fashion. With his identity, if he liked a woman, he only just had to say the word. He never made the effort to please them. Seeing that the little girl was so happy, Sky King quickly said, I gave you my stuff. Could you send the flying fish away now? I am so scared seeing it. Okay. The little girl was going to put away the flying fish, but someone walked next to it. When the little girl saw that person, she was shocked and happy. She ran straight to him. She happily jumped into that person's arms and said, Dad. Sky King's hope was depleted once more. His chest hurt. He heard the little girl call out for her dad. He looked over and thought, I want to see who can raise such an asshole kid. I will lock him up in a cell 24/7. I will teach him how to be polite. If he can't learn, I will smack him across the face until he does. He needs to know how to be respectful and not teach his child to be a delinquent. When he saw who that person was, his heart jumped. It was a man who looked to be in his 20s. He had never seen him before, but he knew who he was. As one of the Qin Kingdom's high-class people, if he didn't know about an event as big as Steel Scene being murdered, his title of a king would have been worthless. Sky King had watched Han Sen's videotape once before, and he had analyzed Senator Han Sen was really tight with the Crown Prince. If the Crown Prince were to be the successor, Han Sen would be a great friend of the king. Sky King did not care for Han Sen, but he had to treat the future king nicely. He was a character that could sway the direction of Sky King's life. Chapter 31:30 Big Nice Guy, she is Han Sen's daughter? Is that just a coincidence? Sky King's heart flashed with many thoughts, but his face did not seem to change. He behaved as if he did not know Senator Han Sen stroked Bauer's head as he asked, Bauer, what are you doing here? He really wanted to know why Bauer was there, and how she reached the anti-material world. In front of Sky King, Han Sen could not ask such questions. Bauer understood, which was probably why the DNA test read positive for her being his biological daughter. She understood and said, Dad, I was playing here. I picked up this cute flying fish, and this Mr. Nice Guy. He gave me a beautiful pendant. After that, Bauer showed off the new pendant that was hanging around her chest. She seemed to be very fond of it. Bauer, is this really how I've been teaching you in the past? I'm pretty sure it isn't. How could you do such a thing? Han Sen looked seriously displeased with her. When Sky King heard Bauer claim to pick up a cute flying fish, his eyes twitched. Can you just randomly pick something like that up? How much luck would a person need to have such good things happen to them? Then, Bauer had called him Mr. Nice Guy and said he had given it to her. It was not just his eyes twitching. It felt as if his heart was going to twitch. Hearing Han Sen tell off Bauer, he felt a bit better. It looks like this Han Sen has more morals than I gave him credit for. It's just that this kid does not behave. Bauer looked wronged. It's not like I wanted it or even asked for it. He just decided to give it to me. Really? Han Sen asked Bauer. Let me have a look at that pendant. He collected the sky order and examined it closely. Sky King thought. With this sky order here, Hansen is sure to recognize who I am. That is fine. Although it looks bad, I think Hansen will respect me. He will give it back to me. Sky King saw Hansen walk in front of him. He thought Hansen would give the sky order back to him, but Hansen held the sky order and asked, "Old mister, you gave this to my daughter. What is this?" Sky King was surprised. He could not believe Hansen did not recognize the sky order. Looking at Hansen's face, it did not seem as if he was pretending to be unaware. "Oh, it was nothing much. It was just my gift to her. It is just a silly little jade pendant. It is nothing of any significant value or meaning. It is only worth a bit of dosh, but that's about it." Sky King gnashed his teeth and thought, I suppose it is a good thing he does not recognize it. If he did, that could probably lead to some embarrassment of sorts. Hansen lifted the jade pendant before Sky King. He thought Hansen was going to return it to him, but Hansen said, "You are very nice, old mister. You gave my daughter such a nice gift. You are a very nice man." "Of course not. I just thought our encounter was destiny, and she is such a lovable girl. That is why I gave her this gift. It was so I could be nice." Sky King had to force his pleasant behavior, despite his earnest unwillingness to say such things. The flying fish was still staring at him. Sky King did not dare move. If Hansen attacked him, he would have been absolutely destroyed. He did not dare to offend Han Sr. "Well, it is nice to know you are an honest man. My daughter is indeed quite lovable. Everyone who sees her says she is so smart and nice." Hansen looked cocky as spoke. He seemed very proud of her. When Sky King heard Hansen say that, he wanted to stomp and spit on his face. He wanted to curse him. He thought, "What is this? You raised such a horrible daughter. Yet you are so proud of her?" Although he felt bad, his mouth only returned an affirmative. He unwillingly had to agree with what Hansen said. Hansen went on to say, "The daughter always resembles the father. Old mister, do you think my daughter looks like me? Do you?" Sky King unwillingly looked at them both. He did not think the two looked similar. Bauer had a circular face, whereas Hansen's face was quite long and sharp. Bauer's eyes were obviously bigger than his, so Sky King did not think the two looked similar at all. "Very similar. Everyone says me and her look like clones," Hansen seriously said. "Right." Sky King could not be bothered to talk to Han Senator. He just nodded. "I say, you must also think we look similar." "Yes." Hansen looked delighted. He put the sky order in front of Sky King. Sky King was happy. Although this guy is talking nonsense, at least he has the courtesy of showing respect. Hansen just waved the sky order in front of him. It did not look as if he was going to give it back. He went on to say, "You are getting along with my daughter so well, and I look so similar to my daughter. Fate must want us to be together. You even gave my daughter a pendant, and said so yourself. In that case, I will." Sky King was so angry that he almost started spewing blood. He had seen shameless people before, but he had never seen someone this shameless. He understood why he had said the two looked so similar. They were both extremely obscene and shameless. They were the same. It was like they were a clone of each other. Fortunately, Sky King had seen a lot and kept his cool. He knew that Hansen must have recognized him, and only pretended not to know him to scam him. Sky King was not afraid of Hansen's scamming. He was just afraid of being scammed and attacked. If he did that, he would lose his money and life. When he looked at the flying fish that was ready to go, Sky King gnashed his teeth and said, "Of course, fate did bring us together. The three of us are fated to be together, but I only have this one pendant to give. I do have something that is associated with fate though. I just don't know if you will like it." After that, Sky King transferred a gene race to Han Sr., got God Class Gene Race 8-Armed Evil Dragon. Growth Mode is Ultimate. "Old mister is very nice. It is an honor for me and my daughter to have met you." Hansen smiled and thanked him. Sky King gnashed his teeth, planning on how to respond. When Hansen finished, he took Bauer and turned around. Bauer was holding the flying fish. She kept walking and looking back, waving at Sky King. "Mr. Nice Guy, let's play again next time we meet." Sky King did not expect Hansen to just leave like that. He was frozen. Surely he cannot actually recognize me. He did not think this was possible. If Han Sen did not know him, when he saw the 8-armed evil dragon he would have reacted. Even a fool seeing the ultimate mode, 8-armed evil dragon would have known he was a superior sort of person. This guy is so weird and his daughter is too. Why would the flying fish be so nice to his daughter? It was a gene race that consumed a god spirit blood pulse. The very powerful Sky King thought the father and daughter were mysterious. As he watched them walk a good distance away, he could hear Han Sen speaking to Bauer. Bauer, don't do this again. If you meet a nice person like that, how could you only take one pendant? That is not respectful to a nice pendant. You have to at least take 2. Yes, I am sorry. Hearing the two of them talk that way, Sky King's face turned lime green, and then dark green. It was colorful. Chapter 31. Going back to Gold Crystal System after taking Bauer to a safe place, Han Sen asked her how she had got there. The old liar brought me here, Bauer said. The old liar? Which old liar? Han Sen was shocked. He is the one who wears weird clothes and has the flag. Bauer then angrily said, he is such a liar. He kept scamming people out of food, drinks and all sorts of things. Yet he never gave me anything. Han Jinji. Han Sen's heart jumped. He quickly asked Bauer for more details about the process that led her there. Han Sen learned that the 4-sheep cube could lead people to the anti-material world. To do so, all sheep heads had to be pushed down together. The old liar was going to scam Bauer out of her 4-sheep cube, but Bauer was not that gullible. She did not give it to him. So the old liar took Bauer to the anti-material world. The worst part was that after scamming her out of the 4-sheep cube, he left Bauer behind. This is terrible. He took the 4-sheep cube and left Bauer here all alone. Han Sen was angry. Han Sen had no idea that it was not because Han Jinji did not want to take Bauer with him. It was because he was scared of Bauer. He needed to provide Bauer food and entertainment, which was very hard for him to do. It was like a very sad slavery story. In the end, he was unable to afford to have her around, so he made a calculation. He calculated that Han Sen might come there, and Bauer would end up meeting someone. Therefore, he left Bauer there to wait for Han Senator regarding Bauer missing Han Sen's appearance. The old liar had no fear of that. After being with Bauer for a while, it was fine if Bauer did not scam others. At least, no one was able to scam her. As for the 4-sheep cube, the old liar had spent a fortune getting it from Bauer. It was not how Bauer made it sound. Dad, do not leave me behind again. I missed you. I always want to follow you. Bauer held Han Sen's neck. She sounded very cute. Han Sen looked hurt. He rubbed Bauer's head and said, in the future, I will always be with you. We will not be separated again. By the way, how are Little Flower and Ling? Is your mom okay? Bauer nodded. They are fine. I told Mom and my brother and sister that you will be fine too. Mom is waiting for you to go home. That horrible old liar scammed us of the 4-sheep cube, Han Sen madly said. We could have reunited if he had not done that. Yes. Bauer felt guilty, not wanting to keep talking poorly about the old liar. The universe of kingdoms was really big, so Han Sen did not know where he could find the old liar. He would have to wait and see where he ended up. He was going to take Bauer with him to the gold crystal system, so they could dig up god pulses together. Han Sen asked about Bauer's situation. She was not really restricted by the rules of this world. As to why the flying fish followed her, she did not know the reason. Han Sen was used to her peculiar circumstances. It did not matter what creature it was, but they always loved Bauer. The higher class the creature, the more they behaved lovingly to her. Bauer's history must be unique. What is her race? Han Sen had a few guesses, but he did not think any of them were correct. He took Bauer back to the gold crystal system. He went to the planet to find Bald Guy and Li Bingyu. Fortunately, they had not moved. They were still there, so Han Sen easily found them. Han Sen was told what happened after he and Sky King departed. He learned that many elites had arrived. None of them were able to earn rewards from the planet. Besides not getting a god spirit blood pulse, they were also unable to find any gene eggs. Of course, you could not find anything. All of the good stuff was ruined by the flying fish. Hansen thought as he looked at the flying fish next to Bauer, which was acting like a dog. Bald Guy looked at Bauer with curiosity as he asked, "Old Han, where did you get this little girl from? How did you bring her here?" "This is my daughter Bauer. Bauer, this is Sister Ghost Kill and Uncle Xia Yufei." Hansen introduced the pair to Bauer. "Really? You have such a big daughter, and she is so cute." Bald Guy looked at Hansen in disbelief. He then looked at Bauer. He also realized something and complained, "Why is she a sister and I am an uncle?" "What is it?" Hansen asked. "Are you not like one? People always say we look very similar." "I can't tell, but your daughter looks much better than you," Bald Guy said with a laugh. He took out a gene egg and presented it to Bauer. "Bauer, this gift is from me." "Thank you, Uncle Xia." Bauer took the gene egg and politely thanked him for the gift. "You can just call me Brother Bald Guy." Bald Guy wanted to impress her, so he told her about the gene egg and its level. He wanted to make her happy. Bauer threw the gene egg at the white jade, flying fish's mouth. The flying fish swiftly swallowed it. Bald Guy suddenly shouted, "No!" It was too late. The flying fish had already eaten it. Bald Guy was so sad that he wanted to throw up. "Quick! Cut his belly open and get the gene egg back. That is a very rare king-class gene egg." Bald Guy was depressed. He wanted to grab the flying fish, kill it, and take back the egg. Hansen was shocked. He hastily stopped Bald Guy. If he dared touch the flying fish, it would have been a massive death wish. Hansen looked at Bald Guy and said, "Forget it. It has already swallowed it. It wouldn't hatch even if you got it back." Bauer looked at Hansen with confusion and asked, "Dad, did I do something wrong? Did you not say gene eggs are for feeding gene races?" Bald Guy had a wry smile as he said, "It depends on what gene egg. That was a rare king-class gene egg. It was very rare. To feed it to a flying fish was a waste." The flying fish had heard Bald Guy say he wanted to kill him, so it was not happy. It stared at Bald Guy with murderous eyes. Hansen saw that, and it frightened him. If Bauer was not there, Bald Guy would have been dead. With the vengeful personality of the flying fish, it would have undoubtedly used fire to turn Bald Guy into a heap of ash. The flying fish opened its eyes wide. Bald Guy was still unaware of the crisis he had put himself in, so he stared back. He shouted, "Dead fish. What are you looking at? Your ancestors' graveyard is smoking. To be able to eat a rare king-class gene egg, I am afraid you can only have this one chance." Hansen saw Bauer holding on to the little flying fish. If she hadn't been, the flying fish would have attacked Bald Guy. "All right, let's go find a land pulse," Hansen said with a smile. "The god pulse here is so strong, so it should be easy to find king gene eggs. If we are lucky, perhaps we can find a god-class gene egg." "This place is so dangerous," Bald Guy worriedly said. "Why are you bringing your daughter along?" "She used to follow me around everywhere," Hansen said with a smile. "I have been away from home for too long, and she was not used to it. Her family sent her here, so I picked her up. But it is fine. While I am around, no one will be able to hurt her." Bald Guy felt as if Hansen was too confident, but there was no other option. They had to take Bauer along with them. "Bauer, if something happens, follow Brother Bald Guy," Bald Guy told Bauer. "I will keep you safe." "Thanks, Brother Bald Guy, I understand," Bauer nicely replied. Chapter 31-32 Getting Hide Hansen and the others sat atop Bald Guy's Godwind dragon. The journey seemed hurried. Bald Guy knew where the key planet of Ghost Starlight was. The first planet had been destroyed. They had to leave the system. They needed to find the next Ghost Starlight land. Bald Guy could not help but ask, "Old Han, did you find a god pulse in the core?" "I found it, but the god pulse had been absorbed by a gene race," Hansen replied. "I was unable to retrieve anything." He was not lying. He really didn't get anything out of it. All of the good stuff had been claimed by the flying fish, and the flying fish followed Bauer. He only got an ultimate 8-armed evil dragon from Sky King out of it. A god class, ultimate gene race took a lot of time and resources to raise. For ordinary people, having a god class, ultimate body gene race was an insurmountably difficult task to accomplish in their lifetimes. The 8-armed evil dragon had 3 skills, which was exceedingly rare. Hansen was satisfied with acquiring it. If he had not received something so wonderful, he would not have allowed Sky King to get away so quickly. It was the same for Han Sun as it was with the others. Many powerful nobles were looking for Ghost Starlight. They saw many groups of flying gene races flying around. There was a battleship-sized purple and red dragonfly breaking space. It sounded scary. Every gene race made sure to get out of its way. Even the god Wind Dragon was so afraid that it made sure to fly away from the fiend. When the purple and red dragonfly broke space and departed, they continued traveling on their original route. The dragonfly looked very good, Bauer said with jealousy. Bald Guy lifted his lips. Of course it is. It was the first reward from a god battle. It was a rare gene race called a mutant dragonfly. There is only one of them in the entire universe. It once belonged to the Qin Kingdom's first swordsman, Jian Bugu. He got it from a god fight, but he gave it to the Mo family. Now the Mo family's Mo Shangtsung owns it. Why did Jian Bugu give the mutant dragonfly to the Mo family? Hansen asked with curiosity. Bald Guy's eyes flared with a nosy flame. He laughed and said, "The old grandma of the Mo family was the Mo family's matriarch. She loved teacher Jian very much. When she was younger, she did a lot for him, but teacher Jian only practiced with the sword. He only treated the Mo family's matriarch like a little sister. When he vanished, he gave the mutant dragonfly to the Mo family's matriarch. The Mo family was a second-class noble. Because of the mutant dragonfly and Jian Bugu, the king has always treated her differently. Now they are a top-class noble family." Hansen knew Jian Bugu must have been full to the brim with great stories, but he never expected his stories to be that amazing. While they were talking, a white crane flew over to them. When it approached, it put them on alert. The sky was wide. Even if a group of knights flew by, they would never have to get so close to them. The white crane, however, seemed to be headed in their direction. "I mean no harm, Brother Han." When the white crane drew close enough, they saw a beautiful man sitting atop it. He waved to Han Sr. "Mr. God One Gongjin Jun? Why is he looking for you?" Bald Guy whispered with a frown. "Ah, it is Mr. Godwon. What inspires you to come to see me?" Hansen looked at Mr. Godwon, who was now very close. Mr. Godwon and Gong Shujin, the man Hansen had murdered, were both one of the top 4 misters of Jade Wall City. Although the 4 misters were famous, in the eyes of real nobles, they were nothing. Mr. Godwon laughed. "I just randomly saw Brother Han, so I thought I would drop by and say hello. Now that I think about it, there is something I would like to talk to you about." "Please tell me, Mr. Hansen said. Mr. Godwon was silent a moment before saying, "I found a land pulse, but the land pulse is extremely dangerous. My power alone is not sufficient for digging it up, and I do not have friends or family here. So I thought I might ask for your help in digging the land pulse there. After that, we can share the loot. How does that sound?" Hansen did not answer. Bald Guy lifted his lips. "This gold crystal system has many land pulses. Why don't we go do it ourselves? Why do we have to share with you?" Mr. Godwon smiled. "Brother Xia is Mr. Wei's student. You must have heard about skinning hide." "You found a skinning hide?" Bald Guy was shocked. Mr. Godwon nodded and said, "If it was not for a land pulse that shocked the sky, I would not have asked Mr. Han to help." S.C. Hansen looked at Bald Guy, who explained, "Skinning hide is a land pulse with a weird scene. A strange grass grows on the land pulse and absorbs the weird scene of the land pulse. If you do not see the grass up close, you would not know that it was a land pulse. When a skinning hide appears, there will be a land pulse that shocks the world. There is a very high chance of getting a God-class gene egg there." But, after saying that, Bald Guy hesitated. Mr. Godwon interjected, "Things like skinning hide are what many gene races adore. This is a skinning hide with a land pulse heir. Even God-class gene races seek to guard it. They wait there for skinning hide to mature. The skinning hide I found has a lot of scary gene races protecting it. That is why I am asking for your help. What do you think?" Hansen looked at Bald Guy and Li Bingyu for their opinions. If it really is a skinning hide, we can at least go check it out. Bald Guy admitted to his temptation. Hansen wasn't entirely sure about it, yet he agreed. Mr. God 1 led the way. They headed in a different side direction. Mr. God 1 was targeting a planet with life, but one without humans. Gene races were all over that planet. If the super god pulse had not appeared in the gold crystal system, most humans would not have ventured there. Now a super god pulse had appeared. The gene races there had achieved breakthroughs, and they had wildly mutated. The places were many times scarier. Ordinary people would not dare go to that planet. Bald Guy felt a bit surprised that Mr. God 1 dared going there to dig up a gene egg alone. It was very brave of him. After entering the planet, Mr. God 1 steered them all to land carefully atop a mountain peak. He pointed at another mountain. About halfway up its slopes was a skinning hide. Hansen used his Peacock King's Eye skill, and was able to see a platform around the size of a football halfway up the mountain. There was a lot of strange grass on it, decking the entire breadth of the platform. The grass was half a foot tall. The leaves were yellow. It was like aloe on the ground. A red baby bucket was at the center of the grass. It was unknown if that was the seed, grass, or what. Upon closer inspection, one would have thought it was a baby that had been skinned alive. It had red flesh that made people feel extremely uncomfortable. The skinning hide was not glowing, but it looked bloody. It was definitely not something ordinary. Chapter 31-33 Blood-Eye Butterfly. Where are the gene races? Hansen saw the skinning hide, but he did not see any of the gene races that were said to be protecting it. If you can see that far, look toward the skinning hide's grassy heart person's face, Bald Guy said. Hansen looked and noticed something weird. He thought the grassy heart person had a face. When he looked closer, he realized it wasn't actually a face. It was a red butterfly that had weird markings. The butterfly was lying on the grassy person's face. The pattern on its back resembled eyes. Its body was like a little person's nose. Mr. God 1 went on to say, the skinning hide looks weird, but it is still some kind of grass. The grass heart looks a bit like a child, but it is not actually a child. It does not have facial structures like eyes or noses. In fact, what is on the grassy person's face is a gene race that is called a blood-eye butterfly. Ordinarily, the blood-eye butterfly is Marquis class. That level wouldn't be too hard to deal with. If there was a boss blood-eye butterfly around, we'd be tussling with a Duke class one. If there is a blood-eye butterfly king, it would be king class. Even a king class blood-eye butterfly wouldn't be hard for you to deal with. Hansen did not believe Mr. God 1 was unable to deal with a king class gene race. Mr. God 1 presented a wry smile. You overestimate me. The level of the blood-eye butterfly is not high, but it can punch above its weight. If there are similar powers to fight back, even a god-class gene race might be beaten by it. Oh, what power is that? Hansen asked with curiosity. Mr. God 1 looked at Bald Guy and said, Brother Xia is a student of Mr. Wei. He is better in that department than me. Let's allow Brother Xia to explain things to us. Bald Guy was not shy. He said it straight. The blood-eye butterfly is very weird. Its name contains the word, eye, but it does not have any eye powers. It is a toxic element gene race. Its body can release toxic powers that can make others fall into an illusion. If it touches your skin or is breathed in by your mouth or nose, it can make you hallucinate. People tend to die during those hallucinations. The illusion-creating toxic powder is not what is most important about this beast. You just need a gene race that is powerful enough to combine with, or use a gene race that can protect you. Do that, and you will not get infected by the toxic powder. After pausing, Bald Guy went on to say, the butterfly wings have patterns like eyes. They have a special ability that enables them to detect the approach of enemies. If that happens, the butterfly's eye patterns release a red light. It might not look strong, as it looks like a red firefly, but if you see the red light, even god-class gene races might end up hallucinating. What if you don't see it? Hansen asked. It doesn't work, even if you don't look at it, Bald Guy replied. Did I not say the blood-eye butterfly is not an eye gene race? It is toxic, and the red light is toxic. Even if you close your eyes and the red light touches you, you will still end up hallucinating. Against ordinary blood-eye butterflies, you will be fine. If there is a king-class blood-eye butterfly, even a god-class gene race might end up defeated. While they were talking, a big snake was going down the mountain. It was as thick as a barrel. It reached the platform. Hansen was seeing what Bald Guy had described. The eye patterns on the blood-eye butterfly's back flickered. It was like the grass person was opening and closing their eyes. The big snake looked very powerful. It opened its mouth, wanting to eat the skinning hide. Before the snake's mouth could touch the skinning hide, it stopped. Hansen watched a crazy scene unfold. The big snake went completely mad. It began eating its own body, using its mouth to eat its tail. Half of his body was inside itself. It created a snake ring. It looked very weird. A sky full of red butterflies fluttered. It was like a cloud of blood going into the non-moving big snake. A moment later, the big snake only had bones left. With the blood-eye butterfly's power, the leftover bones were tossed off the mountain. Hansen looked down the mountain. The Peacock King's eyes were flickering. They peered through the mist of the mountain. He saw the bottom of the mountain possess a large mound of bones. Who knew how many gene races had been eaten and thrown down there by the blood-eye butterfly? That is a very powerful blood-eye butterfly. Hansen had to compliment it. Mr. God once said, "From what I have seen, in this group of blood eyes, there is a king. It might be a mutant king class." "Really?" Bald Guy asked with shock. Mr. God One presented a wry smile and said, "I am not going to lie. I have a toxic removal toad gene race at my disposal. This gene race is only king class, but it is very effective against toxic gene powers. I thought I could use this gene race to remove the blood-eye butterfly, but who would have known there was a mutant king class blood-eye butterfly? It almost died there. That was why I asked for Hansen's help." The toxic removal toad gene uses a skill called toxic removal shield, Bald Guy said with a nod. It can break all kinds of toxic gene skills, but it cannot block the toxins unleashed by a king-class blood-eye butterfly. There might be a mutant butterfly king. Mr. God One looked at Hansen and said, "I heard Brother Han has a blood ghost spirit that can remove all toxins and debilitations. We will most surely require Hansen's aid. In that case, let me give it a go." Hansen put Bauer aside. He summoned the blood ghost spirit and combined with it. After he combined with the gold-winged Peacock King, his evil-looking body looked to possess a blood aura. He looked even eviler. He was like some evil and handsome demon that had emerged from hell. With the strength of Hansen's body, he should have been able to be immune to the blood-eye butterfly. Mr. God One and the others were there with him. He did not want to make himself look too almighty. "You guys wait for me here. I will be right back." After saying that, Hansen flapped his wings and flew toward the skinning hide platform. In an instant, Hansen landed on the platform. He saw the blood-eye butterfly atop the skinning hide. The butterfly wings' eye patterns shone. It was like many small red lanterns were glowing with a weird crimson light. The red lights did nothing to Hans Senator. It was not able to invade the blood air from Blood Ghost Spirit. Hansen saw a lot of red dust scatter in the air. It had to have been the toxic powder from the blood-eye butterfly that could cause hallucinations. To Hansen, the toxic powder was practically useless. Hansen landed on the platform. Suddenly, there was a sky full of butterflies. Amidst all of those blood-eye butterflies, Hansen saw one blood-eye butterfly that was stranger than the rest. The blood-eye butterflies were the same size. It was unknown if they were Marquis or Duke class. Aside from their powers being different, their appearances were the same. This blood-eye butterfly was different. It was about the same size as the other blood-eye butterflies, but it was purple. That should be the mutant blood-eye butterfly, Hansen thought. Chapter 31-34 Saying no means no. The purple blood-eye butterfly king looked very weird. It was like some butterfly that came from hell. Its wings had markings that looked like flickering eyes. The mere sight of them gave people the willies. Although the amount of blood-eye butterflies was shocking to witness, Hansen did not turn his gaze away from them. The Peacock King's eye skill and Blood-Eye Butterfly King's purple eye patterns looked into each other. It suddenly made Han Sen have a hallucination. He saw two shadows. He was seeing things. It was only for a moment. After his body adjusted to the toxins, the effect was immediately diminished. It was merely about Han Sen being shocked. It was just a king-class gene race that could go through the protection offered by both the Blood Ghost Spirit and Gold Wing Peacock King. It was weird. The Blood Ghost Spirit still had a young body. Han Sen understood that it did not have enough power, but the Gold Wing Peacock King was ultimate mode. Yet, it was still unable to fully repel the power of the Blood-Eye Butterfly's toxins. That was hard to believe. Fortunately, Han Sen's body was also really powerful. If he was someone from the universe of kingdoms, even if he did have God-class gene races to protect his body, he would have been damaged already. After Han Sen gave it some thought, he understood the meaning behind all of it. The universe of kingdoms was all about gene race power. The Gold Wing Peacock King was strong. It had an indestructible blade. Comparing the power and powers of destruction, the Blood-Eye Butterfly was hardly comparable. No matter how sharp its blades were, it could not hinder the fire. The two of them were not of the same element. The Blood-Eye Butterfly King's toxic power was like that. With the Gold Wing Peacock King's power, it was not the same. No matter how strong the Gold Wing Peacock King was, it could not block the Blood-Eye Butterfly King's power. Just using power will result in a problem. In a place like the universe of kingdoms, if I use a gene race correctly, even if I use a low-level gene race, it can kill a high-level elite. Let's not talk about assassinations. Han Sen now understood. He was used to being in the Geno universe. He felt the elites there were very strong and did not have many weaknesses. Lower-level beings fighting higher-level beings never came easy. In this world, the rules were a bit different. Ordinary humans did not combine with gene races 24/7 because it would cost them energy. Using different gene race powers correctly was the key to victory. One didn't need very powerful gene races. They only needed one of the same attack gene races. Wasting time to grow another same element gene race was pointless. This mutant Blood-Eye Butterfly King's toxic power is interesting. Why don't I turn it into an egg? Perhaps it will end up useful. Han Sen's heart jumped. The peacock wings on his back spread. Suddenly, a sky full of gold feathers descended like a rain of arrows that killed many red-eye butterflies. In the blink of an eye, aside from the mutant Blood-Eye Butterfly King, all the other Blood-Eye butterflies were killed. After all, it was a God-class, ultimate mode, combination gene skill. Besides the ordinary Blood-Eye butterflies being unable to block the attack, even the mutant Blood-Eye Butterfly King could not. Han Sen wanted to take the mutant Blood-Eye Butterfly King with him, which was why he allowed to live. The mutant Blood-Eye Butterfly King was shocked. It flapped its weird purple wings as Han Sen tried to catch up to it. The Blood-Eye Butterfly King had just turned when Han Sen cast the Xian Yellow Sutra. A scary power struck the mutant Blood-Eye Butterfly King, turning it into a purple, crystal-like egg. He picked up the mutant Blood-Eye Butterfly King egg. When Han Sen flew back, Mr. God 1 and the others were already near the platform. Mr. God 1 offered a compliment by saying, "Mr. Han really is different. You do not just have a blood ghost spirit power, but you have that gold arrow gene race. That is even scarier. It cannot be an ordinary ultimate God-class gene race." Han Sen did not plan on hiding anything. He laughed and said, "You are smart. This is a mutant God-class gene race." Holy shit. Old Han, you are rich. You even have a mutant God class that is in ultimate mode. With the blood ghost spirit, you'll have enough money to afford a city. Bald Guy really admired Han Sr. What do we do with the skinning hide? Han Sen ignored Bald Guy. Mr. God 1 replied, "The skinning hide is good for feeding a gene race and evolving them. Using a skinning hide to evolve a gene race provides a high chance of one learning new skills. Let's just put it away and share it when we return." "Okay," Han Sen said with a nod. Everyone started to pull out the skinning hide. There were a lot of skinning hides. There were 10,000 of them. Mr. God 1 prepared a giant bag in which they could stuff them into so the presence of the skinning hide could go undetected. After putting the skinning hide away, everyone started to dig. Without the temptation of the skinning hide, No more gene races approached that place. The digging process went smoothly. Not long later, they dug up a jade gene egg speckled with black dots. A weird light emanated from it. A powerful presence surrounded it. Hansen felt it. Bald Guy said with bright and wide eyes. If I have guessed right, this is a god-class gene race called Half-Skyhawk. It's its gene egg. What a shame. There is only one god-class gene race here. Mr. God One thought for a moment and suggested. How about this? The Half-Skyhawk gene egg can be considered one half of the goods, and the skinning hide can be considered the other. I will let you choose, Brother Han. If you let me pick, I will have to go for it. Han's son receded into thought for a moment. He turned to Bald Guy and asked, What do you think? The Half-Skyhawk is good stuff. It is a rare flying gene race, but the skinning hide is rare too, Bald Guy quietly said. It is very good for the evolution of gene races. Whatever. Pick the skinning hide. You already have one mutant god-class gene race. Having a Half-Skyhawk will be pointless. In that case, I will take the Half-Skyhawk, Hansen said while pointing at the Half-Skyhawk gene egg. Mr. God One handed Hansen the gene egg and honestly said, Okay. That actually benefits me. After all, the skinning hide is rarer. That's fine. Hansen collected the Half-Skyhawk gene egg. He gave it to Bald Guy and said, I will give it to you now. When we next share things, you have already earned your share. Hansen had seen Bald Guy staring at the Half-Skyhawk gene egg. It was obvious that was what he wanted. He was only thinking about what was best for Hansen, which was why he picked the skinning hide. Bald Guy was shocked and happy. Old Han, I am not going to say much. I will take the gene egg, and I will return the favor. From this point on, you can have everything of mine. I do not need anything more. Are you sure you don't need anything? You're not going to regret it, are you? Hansen looked like he was smiling at Bald Guy, but he wasn't smiling. Ha, ha. Bald Guy, keep my promises. When I say I do not need anything else, I do not need anything else. Bald Guy touched the gene egg as he spoke. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.